A single mother, Amelia, is plagued by the sudden and violent death of her husband, Oscar, 7 years ago. All the while, she battles being a single parent and dealing with her son Samuel's hyperactive and mischievous behavior. When a sudden and strange book arrives on their doorstep, simply entitled The Babadook, she and Samuel must confront their inner and outer demons once and for all. Welcome to another feature presentation of Midnight Double Feature, and on this episode, we'll be covering 2014's The Babadook, written and directed by Jennifer Kent. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. We are Midnight Double Feature. This is our coverage of 2014's The Babadook. I am Colin, but with me is my intrepid co-host as always, Zoheb. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good. I like being described as intrepid.
Yeah, whatever the fuck that means. But guys, thanks for tuning in. Like I just said, we're going to be doing a feature presentation episode covering 2014's The Babadook. Coming from Jennifer Kent, this fucking movie was my pick. Before we get into all that, though, just a few things. You know, this is going to be one of our longer episodes. This feature presentation episode. Some of the different episodes we do, we have upcoming attractions episodes, covers news and trailers, reactions, reviews, kind of stuff like that. That's what our other co-host, Matt Villa, that's kind of more of his backyard. If you want something that's sometimes shorter, sometimes longer, I guess it depends on how much news is going on. But we have those. We have these features for people who are, we want to talk about just that one solitary movie and really get into it and break it down. But in order to do that, we will be spoiling these. There is an E on this motherfucker for a reason. You've been warned, so get the fuck out. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty much it. If you guys want to find us on any kind of social media platforms, you can find us on Facebook at Midnight Double Feature. We're on Twitter at MDF Pod. We're on Instagram at Midnight Double Feature. You can shoot us an email, midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on fucking iTunes. We're anywhere you can find us. And rate review us on iTunes. Stop by. Let us know how we're doing. We always love constructive criticism, and we love getting our cock sucked. So tell us if we suck or if we're awesome. But yeah, I mean, I guess with all that shit out of the way, that's always my. I'm gonna fucking just get the shit out of the way. But with that said, let's get into this shit, man, because this is an interesting pick. This was my pick. And I'm not going to lie.
Interesting pick if you do say so yourself.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. No, it's interesting because this is kind of like there's a lot of meat on the bone with this, but it's a horror film. And, I don't even know if, I guess you call this a horror film. It's the like least horrific horror film I've ever seen. And it's so interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking about your observation there. Well, yeah, I'll get into it in my opening thoughts, but continue.
Oh, sorry. No, it's an interesting pick because this is Australia, and I would have definitely figured you had picked this movie, let alone seen it. And it's so odd. This is different from a lot of the movies that we've covered, but at the same time, I think it could be very similar in a lot of tone. And a lot of like the morality, the ethicals of it, the like judging the characters, having these really fleshed out characters. It's interesting, and I think this is part of that new wave of horror that I believe that we talked about last year when we had Matt Anderson on for Get Out, and we talked about It Follows and Get Out and movies like this that are new and that are coming along and kind of redefining the genre. And they're not these like $50 million star-studded, fucking Cabin in the Woods type movies, like not saying Cabin in the Woods specifically. I mean, as a subgenre, Cabin in the Wood, like kind of movie. It's these smaller indie kind of movies that are really kind of taking horror back and, I want to say pushing it into the mainstream. And they're kind of saying that, hey, like these aren't just slasher movies. These aren't just, big-breasted teenagers running around a forest, around Camp Crystal Lake getting their guts slashed out. And it's fucking awesome. As a horror fan, I appreciate that. And it's a new wave of smart horror films. And that's what I love. And I think that this and Get Out and It Follows and the alike, those all belong in that kind of pot of these new horror films. And maybe it might have another one of those coming up soon, but we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. Just a little just putting in the tip, just giving you a little tease right off the bat.
Maybe. I was just thinking about spoiling it, but okay, we can go ahead and tease it for sure.
No, let's make a way to the end of the episode. But sick bastard. But no, since I'm the one who picked this, I mean, obviously I enjoyed the movie. This is only like the second time I've actually seen it. And I have no idea it was just, as soon as I saw it on it was like on a Watch Mojo, there's like top 10 Watch Mojo things on YouTube. Yeah. As soon as it popped up, I was like, that's it. That's the pick. And I don't know why. I have no idea why. It was Australian and it was a smart horror film. And here we are in October when the planets have aligned and my powers are at their strongest and the rivers run red with blood and, babies cry, just shit like that. But obviously I'm a fan of it. That's kind of my 2 cents. We can go a little bit farther into it as we go along, but I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's smart. I think it has great fleshed out characters. It's simple. It's fucking like a $2 million budget. And I think it does such a great job with taking something that could be a demon film or a possession film or a creepy kid movie. And it kind of uses all those things that scare us and somewhat almost reinvents them and changes things a little bit. And kind of breaks the mold on what I think people thought this movie should have been. And I think that people sometimes I know it's got like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's very, and most people I know really enjoyed this movie, but it's a bit more of like a psychological kind of horror than I would say like a traditional horror film, something like, something like Evil Dead or, Halloween or something like that. I think there's a lot more meat on these bones. It's very suspenseful, and I really appreciated it for that. But you had never seen this before, right? Like, what was your kind of takeaway? Especially I'm interested because an Australian perspective on this for someone who is written and directed by an Australian, and oddly enough flopped in Australia. And I didn't know if you had any kind of like insights into that as to like how Australians, because I've read a little bit about how Jennifer Kent, the writer or director, she was like, the Australian films made in Australia are like they're not very forgiving. She's like, we're very tough on our own filmmakers. And it's like, you have to go outside of Australia to kind of get that recognition. I think Matt and I have even talked about that before, but I didn't know if you had any. I'm very interested on your insights in that.
Yeah, man. Holy shit. There is so much there that I just want to talk about. Like in your last, like in your whole 10-minute rant that you just had. I've been writing down notes to like kind of hit on pretty much everything that you've been saying. So, all right, man, let's start with what you were talking about earlier, with how, you've got these like smaller indie movies that are kind of making up the bulk of quality horror movies today. We did talk about this with Matt Anderson on our Get Out episode for sure, because it's such a great conversation to have. Like there's so many talented filmmakers out there who are constantly pumping out, like not continually in one resume, but like pumping out fantastic horror films. And that's obviously because horror is such an easy genre to kind of dip your toes into, because it's easy to, I guess, they're easy to make. Like it's easy to kind of like, it doesn't require a lot of money to create a film like this, right? Like, I mean, like we were just saying, this was only $2 million. But it like out of all the genres, it's probably the one that's most accessible for a new filmmaker. Someone who's not really that established or anything like that, and this is like their kind of genre that they can break into, and often you see people like, I guess, Jordan Peele, but Jordan Peele had like he had fucking Key & Peele way behind, like his way before Get Out. So but yeah, like directors like who did it, I can't remember his name, but the guy who did It Follows. You've also got that guy who did The Witch. He's just released The Lighthouse, or it's about to release as well. That's getting some Oscar buzz, but like, yeah, so you've got these like first time directors who just kind of break out with these like awesome like little indie horror films. And man, like this is going to lead my thoughts into this movie. I fucking loved this movie.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, man, I'm not even kidding, and this is a bold statement. It's not really a statement that I'm 100% fully comfortable in like saying, but this might have been The Shining to me. Like, I fucking
Nice.
loved this fucking movie, dude. We can get into it, but like I specifically love movies like this that are more of a sort of like metaphorical sort of film. Like the monster is more of a symbol for what the main character is going through. Like, you know, there's a whole thing about depression, and like it's a manifestation of her depression. It's a manifestation of like her inability to raise this child, and you know, her inability to move on from her dead husband. Like I love films like that where you can interpret this monster to be just a fucking scary bedtime monster, which is, you know, again, I'm going to touch on like the casual audiences watching this movie and their reactions to it, because I do have some thoughts on that. But B, just how it's a manifestation of different things that she's feeling throughout her life, which is fantastic. I mean, that's film. Like, it's interpretive. So I fucking love that. It actually reminded me a lot of another movie that wasn't really fantastically well received by audiences, but I really liked it, and I think critically it did well. It's called Mother. It's directed by Darren Aronofsky.
Oh, yeah.
It was... Yeah, it starred Jennifer Lawrence. I think it was Aronofsky's latest movie, or last movie that he did. But essentially, that whole movie is an entire metaphor. And like, you know, it's biblical. You can get into that shit. But I love that whole idea that this is its own world. This is its own setting. You know, there's nothing kind of like, I guess, inherently logical here. We're trying to show you a visual interpretation of feeling or theme or something that we can't, that people have trouble grasping unless we show it to you visually. And man, that in Mother and in the Babadook, I absolutely fucking loved it, man. I was on board for it 100%. Again, so I mentioned the whole reaction to this film, and this is going to, you know, speak to the Australian perspective of it all. This movie came out in 2014, which means I have a pretty fucking great recall of like how this movie did in theaters. It was released limitedly, so Australian movies are often released limited, like in a limited format. So they don't really come, because this was definitely while I was working at Hoyt's at the cinema. It didn't come out to a cinema. Like it only probably got released at like 2 or 3 cinemas towards the city, because I guess they're classy or whatever, I guess. And yeah, and then it just fucking left. Like, you know, I didn't even get a chance to see this movie. I know I definitely did want to, but it came and went. And Australian movies are often like that. Australian movies do get released in a sort of limited format and limited run. And I remember working at the cinema and thinking, not really thinking about it, but like, you know, you'd get these like indie Australian movies, but no one would go to watch them. Like, yeah, like, you know, they'd rather go watch something, you know, with notable actors and things like that. And it's just, you know, it's a little bit of a shame. It's a little bit of a, it's a little disheartening, especially for someone. I mean, not for me, but I'm thinking about Matt Vella now, like for someone who, you know, grew up loving film and, you know, wants to become a filmmaker, but Australia is just not the right place to do it unless you're someone like Jennifer Kent. So yeah, it is a bit soul crushing, and I think Jennifer Kent is right. Like, Australians are very, very tough. Like, she said it very nicely, but honestly, Australians don't like Australian films. Like, I know that might sound like a shock, but I think it's 100% true. You know, unless it's something like Mad Max.
I was just about to say, unless it's fucking George Miller.
Yeah, exactly. Unless it's George Miller or something like that. But like, you know, you'd often get like smaller Australian indie movies and they just don't do well. And it might be down to the marketing. I think that might be a big thing. I definitely remember friends seeing this movie back in the day, and every review I'd get from them was, "Oh, it was shit." I had a, I don't know, like I didn't think it was shit because I was like, well, I hadn't seen it, but like I'd seen all the reviews leaning one way, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe there's something that they're missing, maybe there's something that's, you know, just not there, or maybe like audiences are expecting something that's a little more traditional from a horror monster movie.
Yeah,
like that might be the thing. I think that's honestly the biggest factor because when you go to see a movie called The Babadook and, the trailer makes it out to be, because the trailer for this is like it basically looks like a monster movie. And it might be, somewhat misleading for audiences. And I think that's what a lot of people kind of felt when this movie came out. Like, it was, it's more about this woman who has a whole bunch of problems, man, like including like, this issue with her son that she just can't connect with, or moving on from a dead husband. But like, that was not, I don't think that's the thing that audiences were expecting when they went into this movie. And unfortunately, that's just the way things go sometimes. But yeah, man, I fucking love this movie. This movie was fucking outstanding. I was glued from minute one. It's a quick, breezy, an hour and a half film. The editing in this movie is fucking crazy, dude. Like, the editing is fucking awesome. I loved this this editing style. The music in this was outstanding. But I think more than anything, the two leads were just top notch. Like, I have not seen acting like this in a very long time, dude. Essie Davis is the chick that plays Amelia, the actress that plays Amelia. Man, she fucking killed it. She's actually married to a guy named Justin Kurzel, who directed Assassin's Creed.
That's random.
Yeah, I know. I was just like looking her up, and she's like, Justin Kurzel. I was like, I know that name. And yeah, but also, man, Noah Wiseman as Samuel, the kid. Yeah, man, this whole thing, I was just ingrained in it. Like, I became a part of this story, and it's not even like another traditional horror movie where it's like a sad, ending. It's actually a very hopeful film, if anything, right?
Right. Yeah. It ends on an optimistic beat,
Yeah. Which I was kind of surprised by, considering how many horror movies we get these days that are just like, and here's the sequel bait. We were literally just talking off air about scary stories to tell in the dark, and you're just like, yeah, there's a sequel bait at the end. I was like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and like, the ending kind of reminded me of Get Out in that way. Like, Get Out had that sort of like optimistic ending, even though they filmed that darker ending. But yeah, man, really dug this movie. Thank you so much for picking it, because I have wanted to watch this for a very long time, but I just never got around to. So I'm really glad we're talking about it now.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah, I think that, and I pretty much wrapped up my opening thoughts. Just a couple of things that, like, I think that, yeah, I didn't talk enough about these leads that to hold they pretty much hold this entire movie. You might see the neighbor, Miss Roach, you might see the sister Claire, but these two individuals hold this whole movie almost in one location. And maybe there are a couple of times where I'm like, this might seem it dulls in a couple. It might dull in like a couple of spots, but it's few. It's very few, and it's very far between. And it never really hits a point where I'm like, this is fucking boring. I think that some people were walking in and expecting Insidious and expecting Conjuring, and it's like, man, this is just not. It's not that kind of movie. And unfortunately, it's like check yourself at the door. Don't come in with any fucking bullshit preconceived notions and act like you were conned out of some movie. Yes, the trailers are shot in a certain way where they're not going to show you, her staring at a wall and, the time lapse shit, the crazy editing that happens. They're going to show you the stuff that's going to get you into the theater. And I understand that. But ultimately, I think that, especially in this wake of, yes, we've had this awesome push of these like great horror movies, but then there's also been like Saw and Insidious and Conjuring and Annabelle and it's these it's a very cookie cutter. It's like suburban houses in a neighborhood.
I love that all of those movies you just mentioned were somewhat related to James Wan.
Fuck James Wan. Fuck him. No, I'm just kidding. And there's nothing against those movies. They're fine movies. I enjoy them. I fucking got The Conjuring and Insidious on my rack outside, but I don't go into one of those. I don't go into watching something like, I don't know, a new horror movie that's coming out, Dr. Sleep. I'm not going to go into Dr. Sleep expecting the Babadook. It's like I'm going to walk in there with a clean slate and see what this is about and give it a fair shake. And I think that people were just expecting something to be a lot more scary and a lot more paint by numbers and house possessy, child demony, poltergeist kind of thing. And that just wasn't the case. And Yeah, traditional. I think people were expecting this is a little bit. It's an indie film. Yeah, a lot of this was kicked up off of Kickstarter. I think that people were expecting something, especially probably American audiences. But it's done very well for as far as I know. Like a $2 million budget made like $7 or $8 million back. So I'm like, cool, like good on them. And she already said, she's like, we will never do a sequel. This is done. We're one and done with Babadook. I'm like, cool, thank you. Do not fucking like, unless you can come up with a story that's like better, or I like what James Cameron said when people were asking him about doing another Terminator after T2. He's like, for me, the story was just like done. He was like, I wanted to make one long ass Terminator movie and I had to split them into two. He's like, so I was done. I didn't need to tell any more of the story. And I'm like, cool. I wish somebody would have picked up on that after the third fucking Terminator film. But
yet he's producing Terminator Dark Fate, which is great. Awesome.
Right. Exactly. And I'm like, hopefully that's just like a course correction on his part. And he's like, listen, we have got to get back on fucking track. Like, I'm hoping Terminator Dark Fate is like the X-Men Days of Future Past, and it just like uppercuts its own franchise, and like it cuts off the fucking, it cuts off the finger to save the hand kind of shit. But either way, I dug this movie. I liked it a lot. I think there's a lot of stuff like this and Hereditary and Midsummer, and like you said, Mother and stuff like that. We're getting into like this like cerebral psychological kind of horror thing that I think is really fucking cool. And this kid, Noah Wiseman, like, holy shit, for him to be so charming and so like, God, I wanted to put both barrels of a sawed off in his mouth at some point.
And he's a cunt.
This God,
like at the start of the movie, he's a cunt. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But it's like at some point, at what point do you just like, this is just a kid. He's fucking 6. Like he's he's fucking hyper. He's a hyperactive little kid. Like, what the fuck did you expect? And what kills me about this is when they're like, he's almost 6 years old. He's got to stop believing in this rubbish. I'm like, he's 6. He's fucking 6 years old. Like, What do you think? Like, he's going to believe in monsters, Claire, you cunt. Like, fucking goddamn, man. Like,
but even then, I think that speaks to like Claire's like inability to understand children.
Right, exactly. She's like, why can't your kid just be like my kid? Like, cause he's not loaded on a bunch of Prozac and drink Starbucks, you dumb bitch. But yeah, okay, so let's jump into this shit. So we've got Amelia. She's having this crazy ass dream. I love all this. It's very stylistic. It's very minimal. I really dig it. You and I are a big fan of like those minimalistic posters for movies and shit. And that's what kind of struck the chord with me. I was like, this is cool. It's showing us that something is wrong, but not being too explicit about it. It's very subtle. But she has this, this dream where she's getting hit in the car and, she's tumbling backwards into the bed. And she's woken up by Sam, who says he's had the dream again. They go and they check. I love the editing of that is great. Under the bed, opening up the closet. That's really good. It shows you the monotony and like the routine of this. When he says, I've had the dream again, and she's checking everything, just like eyes rolling, like, okay, here we go. I just did this.
I love that we're not seeing this from the start, right? Like it's not like oh, mama had a bad dream, and like, we follow it from the beginning. Like this is kind of like already starting to affect them both in different ways.
Right, exactly. And I think that, this kid, I mean, God, they act like he's just such a horrible monster. And don't get me wrong, when he's screaming and kicking in the backseat, like, yeah, there is something fucked up with this kid, but like, is it really like a thing where he needs to get pulled out of school and has like behavioral issues? It's like, no, he is a single child who has no friends. It's like this kid needs something to fucking do. He needs to play with some kids. Like he needs to get out and like experience things. And like, he's got this mom who's like, they almost never leave the house. He's got no friends. He's got no other kids to play with. It's like, he's having to entertain himself,
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think just about the dream that Amelia is having about the car crash? It's like strangely like beautiful. Like, the music is kind of like, I guess toned down, and like the slow motion of the debris and the glass flying is like, it's strangely like fucking beautiful. Like, do you reckon she like, I don't know. Like there's something about that like, the way Jennifer Kent kind of shoots it. It's just like, it seems like she's kind of, it seems like Amelia is missing that moment, but I don't know. I don't think that really speaks to anything. That was just an observation.
No, I think it's interesting. I think it's her it's almost like it looks like a music video. It's like a super stylized version of like what happened. And like in reality, that guy's brains are probably hanging out through the front of his face. And
right. Oh yeah,
shit,
exactly.
But it's like this totally like toned down version of events that I fucking dig. And they have to ugly her up so bad for this movie because she is smoking hot in real life. Like
she's a beautiful woman. Yeah.
I pulled up some interview with her and I was like, wow. I was like, you know, they try to make her look like the fucking witch in It Chapter 2 that's like drinking tea with Beverly. I was like, yeah, good. They pulled like an Angela from The Office and just really kind of try to make her not look hot. So yeah, you know, she reads the story, The Three Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf. I really dig that because it's like Sam, the dad. Or it's Oscar, it's Amelia, and it's Sam, and the Big Bad Wolf is like the Babadook, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's interesting. It's like you know, this. I mean, the Big Bad Wolf. I think it's an easy personification of like the story if you wanted to look at it in simple terms of black and white. But it's like a movie that goes so far beyond like just black and white of like, you know, here is this obstacle, and we must get over it to continue doing, you know, this thing with our lives. Yeah. And it's like really with like grief and depression and anxiety and, you know, this kid having fucking panic attacks and shit. It's not black and white at all. And that's what I really appreciate about it is, I'm not somebody who struggles with depression. I'm not somebody who struggles with grief in that way. But I can't speak on that and I don't want to like speak out of term. You know, I've had points where I was depressed. I've had points where I've grieved for people who have died. Not to this
I think
degree,
we all have,
right. I've never had somebody that close, thank God. I've never had somebody that close to me die, but you know, it's so sudden and so violent. I think that's what's so jarring about it is I've heard people say that it's like for like a few weeks, I thought that this was just like, no, this is like a dream. This can't be right. This is so unbelievably like unjust was the word that I heard. I started reading about this was people were like, it just wasn't right. It's so odd. And I was like, that's crazy. That's such a crazy way of thinking about it, I guess. Not crazy as in like, you're a lunatic, but like that, it boggles the mind, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, she reads the story and I love Sam in this. He's like, you know, Mom, I don't want you to die. I'm going to protect you from the monster and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, this kid is fucking charming as hell. He's fucking great.
He's adorable.
Yeah, and he's fucking so cute. Some of the best parts is when he's doing the magician shit, and he's like, "Things are not always as they seem," and it's like, dude, this kid's fucking adorable, man.
God, that just reminded me. Actually, this is a slight side tangent, and I know we probably don't have time for this, but I'm really sorry.
Fucking do it. It's a 90-minute movie. Just go for it, dude.
I discovered a new favorite podcast. It's called This Imagined Life. It's by Wondery. Basically the premise of it is like, you know, they like each episode they tell you this story. It's like a 40-minute long story of like someone's life, and then like at the end of it they tell you who it is. It's actually like a celebrity. So like, you know, they'll do someone like Elon Musk, for example, but like you don't know it's Elon Musk until the end. Like, you know, like they drop clues here and there, but the whole sort of purpose is to like kind of like put you in the shoes in the situation of like Elon as he's kind of growing up and like, you know, discovered, I guess, you know, created Tesla. Did you know Elon Musk was like he created PayPal?
Oh, fuck. No, I did not.
No, neither did I. But anyway, like what you were talking about, I listened to one, and this is a spoiler because they're not labeled, so I'm really, really sorry if you're into This Imagined Life, but one of the episodes is about Princess Diana. And basically
cool. She's interesting, man.
Yeah, no, it seriously is, man. And like what happened was, she was, she was in a relationship. The people were, her husband was like this guy who would cheat on her essentially, and like she was stuck in this relationship because the mother-in-law just was an absolute fucking disgraceful person. But like one day, like one of the kids knocks on her door to the bathroom, and like she knew her mom was crying, like she knew like Diana was crying. And then the kid was just like, "Mom, I'm going to be a police officer so I can protect you." And I'm just like, oh man, like it's just so fucking sad considering just like what happened to her, like knowing what happened to her. And that just kind of reminded me of this situation, like, I'm going to protect you, Mom, like that whole kind of sentiment like that you have as a kid, because, as a kid, you're not really factoring in anything else that's going to happen. Like you have one set goal. You love your mom and you want to protect her.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Like Was that when she was married to Prince Charles?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, well, you said mother-in-law is like the queen. Like
No. It's not. No, it's not Prince Charles. It was. There was one before that.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, she's a badass dude. She used to go to like gay bars dressed up as a dude with Freddie Mercury and shit. And I was like, that's fucking
awesome.
cool, man. Like, that's fucking badass. But Sam, he's like fucking choking her in the middle and like grinding his teeth and like pulling
the
her
teeth
hair.
grinding.
Dude, get this fucking kid. I mean, obviously the kid has like some kind of like separation anxiety. It's like there's something pretty obvious there. But yeah, the next day, Sam, we see a little bit more about Sam. He's into making weapons. He's into magic. He's a mischievous kid. He's 6 years old. He's probably a super intelligent, bright young kid. But, I've heard a lot of these things. Actually reading a little bit of a biography on Stephen King, him and his brother were that way. They were like, his brother Dave had like 160 IQ in like middle school. And it's like, holy shit. But he was doing shit to get himself in trouble all the time and like making these science projects that blew the power out in their apartment building and like shooting off rockets that blew up and like shit that could get them hurt, and cause a lot of trouble. But it's just like, they don't know that at that age. They're just curious. They're naturally curious about stuff like that. But I dig all this. I dig him making the weapon, the little catapult fucking thing. I was like, that's badass, man. I really dig that thing. And the fact that this kid has like these like fucking Home Alone level weapons to like fight this shit with, I was like, that's cool. Like it's so, and I feel like in a lot of these movies, the kid is a plot device. The kid is possessed, or the kid is strictly there to raise the stakes of the story. He is a fleshed out 3-dimensional character with his own goals and objectives and thoughts and feelings. And that's what's so fucking good about it is like his goal is to protect his mom, but he, at the same time, he's not just a little boy who's a knight in shining armor. He has a temperament. He has, behavioral issues and not as much as I think that the people around him make it seem like that he does, but he is a little out there he's not even a little out there. He's just a little much. It's like what he's feeling is perfectly normal, but it's just so amplified beyond reason, like the screaming and the kicking. And oh my God, like
I got a sense that maybe he was autistic or he was on the spectrum.
Right. Yeah. I kind of even thought that too. I was like, this kid, he could have anything from like, be somewhere on the spectrum of autism to like a high level of ADHD. Like he could have, and I'm not a fucking doctor. I'm not going to, diagnose this fictional kid that I don't even fucking know. I've met kids that were 10 times fucking worse than this kid, and they grew up to be perfectly fine. It's like, it's a kid. I was a fucking weird kid. I used to eat cat food and shit. And I did a lot of weird shit, but nobody fucking wanted to lock me up. God damn it. Yeah, that's right. I used to eat cat food.
It's all right, man. I used to eat dirt.
Yeah, who didn't do shit like that? But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to make an observation. So, and this is like something that Jennifer Kent was afraid of too. Like she was afraid that like people would judge Amelia as the mother, like and her sort of like, right. I guess, parenting skills or like rather what like, the kind of like the neglect, but I don't think that she's being like super neglectful. Like, you got this like sort of scene here where she's like, fixing up, what's the boy's name again?
Samuel.
Yes. Samuel. Jesus. She's kind of like fixing up Samuel as she like tells him about the weapons and stuff. And like, you can tell that she cares. It's just this like, she's missing something. Like there's this like inability to I guess love. Maybe it's love, right? Like it's his inability to love again.
Right. Well, I think that she has a huge rock in her path with her husband being dead. She's a single parent. We learn that later on that she used to be kind of a writer and now she's doing a job in a nursing home. And it's like, man, your life really kind of got off track here. You're not doing the things that you want to do. You're not feeling the way that you want to feel. And what I think that a large part of it is that like, we're like later on, just jumping way far ahead, when she's cutting the phone cord, she's like, is this how you embarrass me? And then we see, her sister with the fucking Stepford wives, and they're all looking at her, giving their 2 cents and giving her these looks and shit. And I think that a lot of it is these societal pressures of, being a mother, in this society and being like, oh, I should, especially in today's society, oh, I should be a helicopter parent. I should not let my kid do, anything that would ever harm them. God forbid they break a bone or something like that. And, and that's just, I think it is part of the culture today. I think there is, and rightfully so, and there's a reason why kids don't go out and like fucking just come home when it gets dark anymore. Cause that's why we have shit like America's Most Wanted and shit now, it's like there's a good reason for it. But I think especially in today's age, there's a lot more criticism on parenting and stuff. And like, back when I was growing up, if you spanked a kid in the middle of Walmart or some store, it was not a big deal. And now, I mean, people will fucking like call you out on that shit. And I think that there's a bit more of a pressure as a parent, especially around other adults and around other parents. I think that she feels embarrassed by this kid. She's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And like, you make me look like I can't mother you, or like I'm not doing a good job. And like, when really I think that she already has one foot in the grave with her husband being dead, and the other foot is on a banana peel with her fucking son acting like this. And it's like, if there were another parent there, it would be a lot more manageable, I think. And she would have, I think, part of the burden to bear and part of like the guilt when she gets those looks from people. It's like, well, it's not just me, it's my husband. Like, you can't just look at me and act like I'm a piece of shit because I got somebody here with me. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh man, I love it. No, but I do understand. I do get what you're saying. Absolutely.
Eloquent in its simplicity. But no, she he's a fucking kid. He makes weapons, he breaks stuff, he likes magic. I love when he's giving her a hug. What is she saying? Don't do that. Just him giving her a big hug? Like, what the fuck? Like, well, yeah. What is it that, like, is he getting a boner? Like, what the fuck is going on? I didn't know what was happening. I was like, I expected her to pull back and him be like pissing his pants or something. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
So this is the part of the movie that kind of like might be a bit too much for me. It was like, I think what they're doing is like they're trying to show you just how not ready for affection she is. Sure. any kind of affection, like even from her own son. Like, she's moving, like when he sleeps next to her in bed, like she's moving away. Like she's absolutely trying to get the fuck out of she's trying to mind her own physical space and all that shit. So yeah, I don't know. That's the kind of like, that's what I thought about that. Like, granted, maybe the movement was a little too much, but yeah, that's kind of what I took from it.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was like. Yeah, this it's a little heavy-handed, yeah, but I could see like her being like, "Listen, you were fucking choking me like all night. Get the fuck off me for like a day. Like, stop fucking grabbing me and shit." Oh, sorry. I just drank I've been drinking a sparkling water. It's making me burp like crazy. So
Jesus Christ, I got to try and edit that shit out.
Well, Sam, he makes this weapon. He breaks stuff. He likes magic. He goes to school and gets caught with the fucking dart gun. It's like, oh, fuck, man. Like, that's, you're like, oh, he's just a rambunctious kid. And then they pull out this, like, Van Helsing crossbow. And you're like, oh, fuck, that's not good. Like, that's really not good.
I'm trying to get you back, you little cunt.
All right. Yeah. It kind of like, I saw it and my eyes were like, oh, my God. Like, especially again in today's society, fuck no, man, no goddamn way. Like, but and I also don't want to go past her working in the nursing home, and we're introduced to whatever the fuck this cunt's name is. This guy, Robbie, is that his name?
Robbie. Yeah. Do you want a cuppa? No, I'm heading for the dementia ward.
Yeah, that's the only thing that like it's cute and it's funny. I feel like it's kind of filler. It doesn't go anywhere. I mean, there's not any like. I kind of wish it did go somewhere. Not like, oh, now she's in a relationship and all she needed was a little dick and her life would be fine. Like nothing like that. But I kind of wish he'd showed up and she like fucking killed him or something. Like I think that there should have been something a little bit more there of like, there is somebody from the outside world who's like, listen, I want to help you. And she ends up driving him away or something like that. Like maybe there's a deleted scene there or, I don't know. It just kind of fell off. You know what I mean? Like he's there, he picks up her shifts, he brings her flowers, and then he just never shows up again. And it's like, why did you even have him in there in the first place? It feels weird.
I think for me, it was kind of like, again, it's in service. Well, for me, it was in service to Amelia. Like this guy seems to be trying to put the moves on her, but she is so like removed from that kind of like headspace, like the whole I maybe she's like even like subconsciously doing it. She's like subconsciously not trying to get anything close to a relationship or anything close to dating because she's not even like considering it at all. Because she's so wrapped up in the death of her husband. That was my kind of like that was my kind of like takeaway.
No, I think that's totally valid, but like I would love to see, if we're going to see a scene where like it's so heavy-handed with her, she doesn't even want her kid touching her. Show me a scene where Robbie tries to make a move or asked her out and she's just like, no. You know, show me something like that, because I'm kind of having to assume, like, it's a good assumption, it's a fair assumption, but show me a little bit more. Is that's all I'm saying. But no, I totally agree with what you're saying though.
Yeah, you want the whole shaft, you don't want the head.
Right, yeah, exactly. I don't want the tip, I want the shaft. So she ends up, talking about pulling him out of the school, and and I love that she's like, we're merely trying to help the boy. She's like, his name is Samuel. He's not the boy, and that's totally going to come back later. And I dig that too. I love the setup to that and it coming back later. We meet Amelia's sister Claire, who is a total bitch.
Can we? Sorry. Can we just one sec? Like on that teacher sort of like interview. Can we just like talk about how much of a fucking bitch that teacher is? Like I get that you're, concerned, but she's like, I have 24 other first graders in that class. Would you like me to put them all at risk for your son? That's a very valid point. But you know what? You could have said that in a much nicer way. Like, fucking hell.
Well, yeah, because what do they say? They want to put him with like a monitor who would be with him one-on-one. And I tell you, here's a crazy little tangent on my own. When I was in kindergarten, which is like, do you guys have kindergarten over there? I don't know how
we do.
Work.
We do.
Okay. Right. Well, I was in kindergarten. I was going into first grade. My teacher was this fucking 80-year-old bitch like this lady. And I was a hyper kid. I was into telling stories and running around and doing crazy shit. And my kindergarten teacher was like, your son needs a mentor. And they were like, what? Like a mentor. Like he needs somebody to talk with him one-on-one and spend time. And like, a mentor is typically for a child who comes from like a troubled home or is not expressing himself correctly. Right. And I was fine. I had one working parent and I had siblings to play with, and I was just a hyperactive little kid. And after like 6 weeks of doing it, I'm going into the first grade. My mentor looked at my mom and was like, I don't know why the fuck I'm here. Your kid's fine. It's like, it's really odd that I'm even here. And don't get me wrong, she's fucking really cool. Her name is Miss Robbie. I haven't talked to her in like fucking 25 years, but I know where she works and she's really, really, really nice. And I thought about popping in there before and be like, you might not remember me, but she was really fucking nice person. But like, I felt guilty as a kid being like, wasn't that meant for some kid who really needed that? Like, I didn't really need that. Like, I appreciated it, but like, it just seemed so unnecessary. And like, I don't know what it was. I guess the woman, my kindergarten teacher, was just not wanting to put up with a hyperactive little boy. She'd been a teacher for been a teacher since fucking like, she probably was on the verge of retirement when Nixon was fucking president. And it's like, dude.
I always had a feeling you were mentally challenged, so maybe that just confirmed something for me.
Oh, same teacher wanted to hold me back a year because I had a summer birthday. And I would always be, I was 17 when I graduated. Yeah, I was 17. I graduated in May. I turned 18 in June. And she was like, I want to hold him back because I feel like he's going to be a little bit behind the other kids. They're like, he's a month, baby. Yeah, like he's born like 2 months earlier than all the other kids. Like, fuck off, lady. Just stupid shit like that. That's the stupid shit. Like, you're going to hold me back and give me a mentor because I'm hyper and I have a fucking summer birthday. Get fucked, Miss Robertson. I know you're dead. I know you're fucking dead. And I'm glad. No, but no, yeah, we meet Amelia's sister, Claire. She's a fucking bitch. This is one of those, like, I don't know. This is the type of woman that meets at Starbucks with her book club to talk about eat, pray, love bullshit and then leave like a $2 tip on a fucking $80 tab in a restaurant. It's like, fuck these people. These are the people who like live their whole life like just paying shit off with credit and don't have any fucking cash, and they're all on Prozac and hate each other and shit, like shit like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, totally. Especially like when we get to this, like you said, the Stepford Wives scene later. Like just the way she's like talking about this story, and like Amelia's like, phasing out. Like Claire's like, the line is like, oh, the artist was so drunk he vomited right in front of his own installation. We lost all of these sales. Robert was beside himself. And then, like, you know, Amelia's like obviously tuning out and shit. But I'm just like, Amelia, I sympathize with you. And I don't even have a fucking ghost, like, or whatever the fucking Babadook is. I don't even have a fucking entity like that's about to start stalking me. Like, that story was just so fucking uninteresting that Claire just talked about that I will also tune out with you, dude.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of Claire is just like, oh, my life is just in shambles. Here's something that happened in my career. And she's like, yeah, my husband died and my kid might be losing his fucking mind. And I am too. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? You know, it's just mind blowing what people, it's all a matter of perspective. You know what I mean? It's like, Claire has what Lindsay and I would call white people problems. It's like
nice.
it's yeah, I think the comedian Louis C.K. did that, you know, where he's bitching about people who, like, there's a guy on an airplane he was with and they introduced Wi-Fi on the plane. This is when I guess that was like first a big thing. And it worked for about an hour and then it got shut off. And they're like, hey, we're having some problems with it. It's still in its trial phase, blah, blah, blah. And the guy on the plane next to him was like, just fucking bullshit. And he's like, what the fuck? He's like, how are you demanding something that you didn't even know existed half an hour ago? He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
That's gold, dude. But no, also, are we allowed to talk about Louis C.K. again?
I don't fucking, man. No, it just blows my mind, like the kind of shit that people will like bitch about. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's a combination of like privilege and, you know, just pretty much having everything given to you and expectation and stuff. Yeah, it's absolutely for sure.
Right. Yeah. It's like you obviously have never like been homeless or starved. And like you probably need to do both for like I have a little thing that I keep on my desk at work. And it's like, you know, I do collections where, you know, you're supposed to. You know, you're supposed to, where's my fucking money, man? That's kind of the way you're supposed to act.
Where's my money?
Polite. Right. Where's my money, Brad? But you're supposed to be polite about it. You know, we're a customer service as well. But I keep this thing on my desk that's like, stay hungry, but be humble. And it's like, just always be humble about shit like that. Like, I remember as a kid not fucking having Wi-Fi and not having any of this shit, but like, you got to remember where you came from. And you didn't always have the nice car and the 401k and the stocks and the credit cards and shit. And it's like, again, kicking back, I'm reading On Writing by Stephen King, which is like half biography, half like writing class. And he said he got hit by a fucking van in like the early 2000s and he almost died. Like, and he said, I was laying in a ditch. I woke up and my hip was where my dick should have been. Like I was twisted around like a cork. And what he's like, the only thing I could think of is like, it's like you go out broke. Everything is on loan. You own nothing. And I was like, oh, that's so awesome, dude. And I love that. Like, you got to have some kind of standards. I get it, you know, but like, just don't be a Claire. Don't be a fucking Claire in this world. God, I hate people like that. I can't stand it. That's why I don't go to class reunions because I don't want to kill myself. I'm like, get the fuck away from me, Claire. Like, oh, God. People like that, like, it really does strike a nerve with me because like I worked in restaurants and the type of people who came in to eat were people like that. And I worked at like the Publix grocery stores, and those were the kind of people that shopped there and just acted like, well, I have to have, you know, the spring water, not the fountain water, because, you know, just, oh my God, just insufferable. They are insufferable people, and I fucking hate them, dude.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you know, Sam, he ends up fucking climbing the swings. Obviously, he's a danger prone kid. You know, he's fearless. It seems that's another thing about Sam I love is he seems like a fearless little kid. You know, like he is scared of stuff, but deep down, he's like, if I have to be the one to arm myself and attack this thing, like I will, because no one else is going to do it. And I fucking love that. So, you know, we see him playing on the swing, you know, and just him screaming the whole way home. That's great. That editing is
I love the hard cut. Yeah.
Right. I fucking really love it. We're introduced to Miss Roach. She's the next door neighbor. We can see they're really close. She's like, you look like you've been through a war today. He's like, a few wars. I'm like, oh, that's a good line for that little kid. He's
fucking adorable.
And it makes him seem really wise. You know what I mean? Like a lot older for his age. I just now realized that Robbie in this movie looks like fucking Rian Johnson, who directed Last Jedi. That's all I can think of now. So yeah, we get a little bit of an indication here. The dog, I don't remember what the fucking dog's name. I feel bad because I'm a big dog guy, but I can't remember what the fucking dog's name is. The dog is like scratching at the
His name's Bugsy.
Bugsy. Bugsby or Bugsy?
Bugsy, like Bugs Bunny.
But okay, Bugsy. But yeah, we see the dog kind of scratching at the basement door, just a little bit. Now we're showing us like, okay, I think they had to throw something like that in here because we're starting to get a little like we're 10 minutes in, let's say 10, 15 minutes in, and we haven't really seen anything that would, trudge up something scary. It's more of a drama so far. But it's a little unsettling. What the fuck is going on here?
See, but like, those for me, like those instances for me, it's kind of like It, right? Like when I watched It Chapter 2, the scary moments were the least favorite parts for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like they were just like the tension moments for me where I was just like, I don't know, I kind of want to get back to the characters and get to know these characters again. And that's the same thing for me here. Like, I felt like while I was watching this movie, I was like, okay, we're going to have to do the obligated sort of like scary setup stuff, right? Like we're going to have to eventually get to that stuff. But really, I kind of wanted to see these characters more than anything.
Right. No, yeah. It lets you know what's at stake. When you become invested in these people, we don't need a government agency or a meteor coming to hit Earth or alligators in the sewers coming out through your toilet. Once you're investigated in these characters, it's like, man, that's enough. Like once you care about somebody, it really seals the deal. Sam, he's going to bed. They check for the monsters again. He picks out the Babadook, this mysterious book. And oh my God, the hard cut, when they're flipping through and it's showing all this horrible smash cut to him of him just screaming and her trying to read the book over his screaming. It's like using a super soaker to put out like a house fire. It's like just not working at all. It's so fucking good. No, it's so fucking good, man. What did you think about the artwork in this book? And because we don't see the Babadook for like 45 minutes. This is like the only indication we get of him through the first half of the film. Like, what did you think about this book that they had made?
Yeah, I thought the artwork looked great, man. Like it looked really unique. It actually reminded me a lot of in The Ring, like when they do the drawings and stuff, except this is kind of like done by an actual fucking artist, but yeah, it was creepy as fuck. And like considering that we don't actually really get a good look at the Babadook, then it kind of like, it's kind of like, I really like the idea of, I was really hoping that they would back out of not showing us the Babadook at all. Like I didn't want to see the Babadook at all. Pretty much all I would have liked to see was just these drawings in the fucking book, these fucking haunting, terrifying images. And like, I wish that we got less of the visuals of the Babadook. I wish Jennifer Kent kind of like relied on our imaginations to kind of fill that gap in for us. What do you think about that?
I dug it because, I mean, how many times do we actually see it like face to face? I think we get a good look at its face like once. And that's when she's going to bed and it's doing the whole, what really gets me is the audio of it. The you're like, what the fuck is that shit, dude? Like, that's what scares me is like the visuals never really get me. It's like the audio of something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get you. I mean, like for me, it was just like the audio is The Grudge. Like it's The Grudge.
Oh, fucking is.
That's why it didn't really get me. I was just like, I've heard this before.
No, yeah, I can totally see that now. I didn't mind the look because the look was, I was reading a little bit about it. It's very inspired by like Lon Chaney, kind of like classic Universal horror shit. I can't remember what movie specifically, but he's got this like disheveled crazy hair and these like long fingers and a top hat and this big black coat, and it was very similar to Babadook, and that's where Jennifer Kent said that a lot of the inspiration of it came from. But there's even a little bit of a nod to it, like when we see Amelia watching TV, she's flipping through the channels and there's that infamous shot of Phantom of the Opera where she pulls the mask off and it shows that hideous face. I guess he's fine. Totally a nod to it. But I enjoyed it because I do want at least like the one look of it. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like they do less showing than Jaws does. And Jaws works great because like it's the feeling of like being trapped and you're in the ocean around this thing. And it's very similar to what we have going on here. Like they're both kind of trapped in this like sea of, grief. And what I really dig is the fact that they only show the Babadook that one time, and every other time, like when it confronts her towards the end of the film, it's just a silhouette. It's like a complete shadow. And I was like, cool, you know, and sometimes I do feel like when it's like, yeah, and they don't ever even show the monster at all. I'm like, I'm a little bit let down. Like, I am an old school, like, monster lover, like, kind of I grew up loving this, you know, the like monster films. And I don't want to just see, you know, the monster the whole time, but I do at least want to get like a shot of it, which I think is great. It's kind of like, you've seen The Exorcist, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank God. The quick shots that they actually give you of like the white Pazuzu, like demon face.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. And like, that's all I need. That's all that I needed. And it made it that much more terrifying for me. So like, just those quick little shots that they give of him like descending on her from the ceiling is all I fucking needed. And I was like, cool, like I'm down for that. Like, I guess I could have lived just off of like the silhouettes and stuff, because the illustrations also show us what the face is like. But, you know, I don't know. It wasn't too much. And I think it was just at the right level for me. It was just enough and a little bit less. And I guess I could have lived with it, but I love the level that they had it at. Fuck, where the fuck are we?
Well, you're wrong.
That's cute.
But yeah, we're basically, she's still reading this book, essentially.
Right. And he, you know, flips the fuck out. I love this whole thing, you know, and the books they made I was telling you off air, they made about 6,200 of these, and you can buy one for like $500 or $600 online. And there are some diehard fans that have them. And I'm like, that's fucking cool. It's a cool looking book. You can get like a journal that looks exactly like it. That's like $20 on eBay. It's not even like you have to get the actual book. So yeah, you know, he gets fucking freaked out by the book. Amelia puts the book up on top of that huge dresser. Amelia finally goes to bed, where she plays a little clitoral DJ, you know, before Sam busts in there talking about the Babadook monster.
Just quickly, Colin, there is a scene just quickly before that where she's in the lounge and she's watching TV, and basically, you know, you get like her kind of like seeing like what her routine is, and like it's just sad, man. Like, just to watch this widow, kind of like, you know, she's eating on the chocolate, like, and you know, there's like a fucking what is there? There's an empty chip packet next to her as well. Like, it's kind of like this routine of like, I am so depressed.
Right? Yeah, of just like being in a literal rut. That's what it's like. It's like you eat like shit.
Absolutely.
You watch shit. You live shit. It's like, fuck, man. I've been there before. It fucking sucks.
But she's also massaging like her jaw as well. That's a pretty big point that's going to come up later.
Right. Yeah. And like, it took me forever. Like, I forgot like what that led to. And I had to like Google it before the movie was over. I was like, I mean, she's not sucking dick. So what the fuck is going on with that jaw? You know, no, I'm just kidding. But no, yeah. The funny part is Lindsay and I are watching this, and the first time we watched it, I see her like take off her, you know, her underwear and drop into the floor. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And then, you know, she kind of starts like oohing and awing, and so the audio, we don't have our TV turned up like super duper loud. But then I'm watching it on my laptop a little bit later, just kind of brushing up on some notes, and I hear the. I was like, oh, she actually has a vibrator. I fucking laughed my ass off because I started hearing the noise, and I'm looking around like, the fuck is going on? And I was like, oh, she actually has a vibrator. It just made me laugh. And Lindsay's like, yeah, you didn't notice that? I was like, no, I didn't fucking pick up on that at all.
She's coming, dude.
Yeah, I mean, she's taking it to Two Finger Pump Town. When Sam busts in, he's talking about the fucking Babadook monsters. I don't want anything bad to happen to you, Mom. I'm going to protect you. Yeah, thank you for protecting me from my only orgasm I've had in 6 months. Thank you, Sam. Fucking thank you. No, but he's so charming, man. I mean, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. I'm going to protect you, because I think that Sam, he's starting to realize, like, I think he's smart enough to connect the Babadook with his mom. And he's like, I don't really think the Babadook is after me. He's like, I think it's after you.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. I'd never considered that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Right. Well, there's a scene later on when, you know, she finds that picture of her and her husband. She's like, do you think this is funny? And he goes to grab the backpack contraption, and she takes away, he shoves her down. He's like, do you want to die? And it's like, you can look at that as him threatening her. It's not him threatening her. It's him saying, you know, come with me if you want to live. And it's like, I think it's him realizing the Babadook is not here to come after me. It's not. And that's why you keep saying, like, you know, don't let it in, don't let it in. And yeah, he's saying, I don't want anything bad to happen to you, Mom. I'm going to protect you. I love you, blah, blah, blah. A bunch of fucking stupid shit. No, I'm just kidding. The next day, Sam is,
I love this whole transition from night to day.
Oh yeah, dude. There's the transition shots are just fucking great in this, man. Like, it's so fucking good. The way they cover time and like the sleep deprivation is what's really great. That the transitions do so well. Like, she shuts her eyes and then like it's 10 seconds later and the sun's already up and you're like, dude, she got like 8 seconds of sleep. It's like, holy fuck, like, man.
Her face is like twitching and like and moving in like fast motion. It looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, man, it's fucking great. So Sam's dropped off at Claire's while Amelia is at work playing bingo. I love that, her playing fucking bingo. Is this the part where she's playing bingo and she's like, 5 million, anyone? 5 million? And they're not. No, that's earlier. That's earlier.
Yeah. That's not. I think it's later, right?
I think it's fucking earlier because I'm not gonna lie. That's the only problem with movies like these is when they stay in one spot for. No, that's earlier. It's like 20 minutes in the movie. When they do shit like that, it kind of fucks me up. No, that's right here. No, that's right here because they show her. You know, she's like,
oh yeah, hey, it is. Sorry. Yeah.
Right. Don't talk about Babadook. No more talk about monsters. Blah blah blah. And yeah, so Robbie says, hey, take the rest of the day off. I got you. You know, just let me hop into that shit sometime. I think it's great her seeing the couple making out in the garage, and you're like, oh, that's you know, she just a great representation of what she feels like she's missing out on. It's like, oh, that's fucking just a reminder. Your husband's dead, by the way. It's like, oh, great, thanks. But, you know, she goes to Claire's freaking out. I tried to call you all day. You weren't at work. He started freaking out Ruby. You know, this talk about the Babadook.
Yeah. Dude, I love her kind of like little day off, like little me day. Like, you know, she's like, I'm reading off the script currently, right? So the script says, Amelia wanders aimlessly looking at the life teeming around her, a comforting distraction. She sits on a bench eating an ice cream. I love that. Like, I love that she's kind of like distracting herself from like her severe mental issues, right?
Right. Yeah. She's just kind of taking a breather, at least, just to kind of get things in perspective, even if it is for fucking half a day. So yeah, Claire's freaking out, saying he was talking about the Babadook and shit. I love when Amelia goes to like collect him and he throws the firecrackers and runs. I was like, what is this? Is this kid fucking Batman?
Dude, that scared the shit out of me. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, for sure. We have the, I can't remember what they call them here. They're these little white bags that like, they're little tiny knotted white bags that you pop them and they're fucking loud as hell, man.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know how, some places are weird, like about fireworks and shit, you know? I figured you guys didn't
fireworks
have any guns.
Are legal. They're legal
any fireworks and shit. So.
Hilarious. No, it's all right, man. We can do explosives for fun, but we just can't do guns.
Right? Yeah, sense, I can get 1,000. I can get 1,000 M80s and blow my friend's car up, but I can't shoot him. So you know, she's taking Sam home. She's talking about canceling his fucking birthday. Like, holy shit, like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the kid's fucking being a little shit and acting up, but like, fucking canceling the kid's goddamn birthday. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? I do love she's
again,
like, and
it speaks to her inability to like, you know, connect with children.
Yeah. Well, I love she's like, and where did you get this firecracker? He's like, you bought them for me on the internet. Like, that's so fucking good, dude. I love that little kid. And this is where, you know, after they get home, we see Robbie stop by. Last time we ever see Robbie. Bye. You know, he brings up I love. She's like, oh, I heard you were sick. He's like, I'm not sick. The kid's honesty is just so fucking brutal. I love it. And yeah, they kind of get into a fight. She won't even let me have a birthday. At dinner that night, this is where Amelia ends up finding, or is that right here where she finds the glass in her food? Now, I guess first she goes downstairs and finds all the shit scattered around, like the sheet music and all that stuff. So, obviously all their dad stuff is downstairs. It's been 7 years, by the way, and you still have all of that stuff. Like, God. So she can tell that Robbie's been playing down there. I love that he has like the whole suit like set up like he's a real person. Like, oh man, that's fucking sad, dude. This kid like building a father on the wall. Like puts the hat up and the shirt and the pants and the shoes. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, it definitely made me sad, dude.
Yeah, it's fucking brutal. That night at dinner, they're eating. She finds the glass in her food and she's like freaking out thinking that it's in his food. And the slow realization is what fucking gets me. She's like, oh man. Like she checks her food, finds glass, takes it out, checks his food, doesn't find anything, checks her food, finds glass again. And she's like, she just stares at him. He goes, the Babadook did it, like the first thing out of his fucking mouth. Oh, dude, that's fucking sad. And he goes in there to watch that DVD, which he's like, life can be wondrous, but also treacherous. Like that kid's adorable when he's doing that magician shit, man. And I think is this where she goes upstairs? Yeah, she goes upstairs and she finds the picture that's been vandalized. Yeah. And, he's got the pack on and they struggle. Do you want to die? That whole thing. Like, oh, this kid's fucking great. And there's Noah Wiseman, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kid fucking nails it. Later on, Amelia's sitting alone in the kitchen and, Sam's attacked by the Babadook. This is fucking cool, man, because now the way a great horror does is they have set up stuff that she can refute. Now, she has found something she cannot refute. How the fuck would Sam tip that thing over? There's no way. There's no goddamn way that Sam could get up there and flip that fucking dresser. You see what I mean? Like, it's irrefutable. It's like, how could he possibly have done that? And I think that she realizes that too. She's like, oh, fuck. And especially the state that he's in of just like no eye contact.
Don't let it in. Don't let it in. Don't let it in. Yeah.
Oh, fuck, man. That's terrifying, dude. And I think that where the Babadook is such a smart thing is it's like it could attack her directly, but to like get to her most, she's going after Sam because it's like, well, the death of her husband did this to her. Imagine what happens if I start fucking with her kid. You're like, holy shit, this thing is devious, man. Like, and I think that there's some debate. People talk about whether the Babadook is even real, if it was just something all in Claire's head. I hate that shit. I hate when people are like, and it was just in their head the whole time. It's like, no, I think that this is... I think that this is a real thing, but I think that it has like taken an image of her husband, the black coat, the hat, and it's like morphed it into this awful like thing.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Exactly.
I think it is a real thing, but I think that, if it wanted to fuck with, you in the form of, your fucking, brother that died or your dog or whoever, it would morph into almost like a parody version of that. And that's what I think is so terrifying about it is like, I will take the form of the thing you love dearest and like bastardize it. Basically, it's like, oh, that's fucking scary, man.
Totally. Like, let's not forget like that. The Babadook is like a manifestation of her grief, right? Like, so it's going to like. I think it's definitely there. Like, because like, how if it's a manifestation of her grief, then how is Sam seeing it? Like, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly. There's no way, that's what I think. I've heard people even purport theories that like she is the Babadook. Like when Sam looks up and sees the Babadook, he's seeing her. And I'm like, no, it's just, I don't know. I think that this is a drama.
I'm not going to lie. I thought that's the way they were going about it originally until like the movie, like, midway through the movie or something. I thought that that's what they were going to do. Like, yeah, I dead set thought that she was going to try to kill Sam towards the end, but I was like, I'm really glad that they went with what they did.
No, yeah, for sure. It's kind of pointing to like the hero is the villain or it's all in their own head and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this went early 2000s real quick. But he's attacked by the Babadook. Don't let it in. Don't let it in. Don't let it in. Amelia rips up the book and puts it in the trash or the rubbish. Or you guys call it rubbish there or you call it trash?
Both. I mean, they're not exclusive. I call it rubbish, but
that's weird. But
fuck you.
But I know. That night she, she's hearing the fucking knocking in the house. But again, we need a little bit more. We need a little bit more of that tip. We don't need the whole shaft yet. We just need to put a little bit more of that tip in there. Because it is kind of like, we've had this paranormal event, but nothing's really happened. This could all just be something mischievous that the kid's doing. Like, we're not really sure, So yeah, basically she rips up the trash. She rips up the book. She puts it in the trash. That night she hears the knocking. The following day, it's Ruby's birthday party. Amelia is there with Sam. I love the first thing Sam goes, "Do we have to go to Ruby's birthday party?" It's like, no, I wouldn't fucking. I never went to a girl's birthday party when I was this kid's age. Like,
no, yeah. But I mean, it's cousin.
Just, I don't. Oh yeah, well, family. Yeah, I could see that shit. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was just weird. Like, so yeah, also, that night she hears the knock. No, go ahead.
I love that Ruby is basically just a mini sort of version of her mother, Claire. Like, I've already got this Barbie. Like, shut up, dude. Like, are you fucking Dudley from Harry Potter? Oh, 36, but last year I had 37 presents. Fuck off.
Dude, for real, I can remember my grandmother getting me a Batman toy that I already had, and her being like, "Don't you already have that one?" And I was like, "Nope. I don't know what you're talking about. Now I have two of them. I didn't give a fuck. It's Batman. Yeah, fucking hell yeah, it's Batman.
Absolutely.
It's Batman." But
you doing Aziz Ansari? Hey, I'm Batman.
Oh my god, hey, look at me. Oh, Batman. The following day, it's Ruby's party. She's being a fucking cunt. I mean, dude, it is frowned upon, however, not illegal to call a 7-year-old child a cunt. I don't care if she's a cunt. She's a little cunt. Oh, I can see the Han Solo vest and the fucking pumpkin spice latte forming in her hand right now. I can fucking see it, dude.
Yeah, it's us Australians that are always using the word cunt, and it's just funny that you decide to drop it. It's fucking gold.
Oh yeah, dude. When my nephew, I got like 5 nephews and a niece, and I've never called my niece a cunt. She's fucking so nice, but my nephews, when they were younger, they'd be like 10 or 11 and like acting up like little shits. And I'm like 20 years old. I would look at them and shoot them the bird and be like, "Fuck you." And they would look at me like, "What?" And they looked at me like I had just peed in God's mouth, and I was like, "Fuck you." And I remember looking at my nephew Dylan and going, "Fuck you." Like shooting him the bird and him looking at me like, "Oh my God." And I went, "Go ahead, tell your mom. She's not going to believe you. Fuck you." Like just crazy shit to this kid. Now it's so weird now because he's had a kid of his own. It's super, super fucking weird. Like my 21-year-old nephew has a kid, and I'm like, "Oh, that's weird. I'm getting old. I don't want to talk about it. It's weird." So yeah, I mean, and I love the scene with Amelia kind of like getting interrogated. Like the way that the camera is set up, like when we look at her, we're looking down on her. But when we cut to like the Stepford Wives, suburban fucking cunts, we're like looking up at them, and it depowers her, it empowers them at the same time. That's so fantastically done. Especially, and I think this scene is probably like one of the most important scenes in the movie because they're trying to pressure her into stuff. They're trying to act like they know what the fuck that she's going through. Oh, I work with some, what did she say she worked with? Like despaired women or something like that. I cannot stand that shit. No. Well, basically she's saying she works with women who are like go through hardships or whatever. And it's like, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. She's like, she's like, "Oh shit, I don't have the time to go to the gym anymore. I've got the kids 24/7. Yeah, but it's yeah. I do volunteer work with some disadvantaged women. A few of them have lost their husbands, and they find it very hard. Yeah.
Holy shit! For one thing, that woman. I mean, she probably doesn't even know her fucking name. And then, like, just to come up and call her disadvantaged to her face and be like, "Hey, I barely know you, but you're disadvantaged, obviously, because you're not dressed up like." And what's so weird is when you look at the other women, they're almost all dressed the same. It's so weird. Yeah. Like, it's so odd. Like almost all of them are brunettes. It's super, super fucking, that creeps me out, but it's the societal pressure of what they're expecting her to be as a mother. And they're expecting, her kid is like, it is weird. She goes to pull him off and he's just like, and doesn't want to let go. And it's like, I mean, the kid's 6 years old. He's at a place he doesn't fucking want to be. I probably wouldn't have been like that, but I definitely, I don't know. I can relate to that. There was plenty of places I went when I was 6. It's like, I don't want to fucking be here. I want to talk to these goddamn people. But
I want to be in front of my fucking Xbox.
Right, exactly. Well, and just the way that they judge her for doing this. And I think that Jennifer Kent had such a valid reason for being worried about how people were going to judge her. And I think that this scene is perfect. Like, if you are one of those people that judges her for like being a bad mother, you need to get a cup of coffee with these ladies because you'd fit right in. Like, the way you're looking at them, the way that they're looking at her, it's just so judgmental. And it's like, you have no fucking clue, man. Like, I hate it when somebody comes up to you and they're like, I know how hard this has been for you. Unless you've done that, no, you fucking don't. You fucking don't do it. Like, the number one thing I always say, like, somebody has a family member that dies. I have no idea what you're going through. I'm not going to try and sit here and act like I know what it is to lose a spouse or anything. But if you want to talk about it, like, I'm down. If you want to vent that shit, but I'm not going to sit here and try to say I know how hard this has been for you. That's so arrogant and preposterous, man. Like, oh my God, it just aggravates me. It aggravates the fuck out of me.
I know what you're going through, Colin, but damn. I'm kidding.
Like, it's like when people say that, it's like they're trying to purport themselves on some kind of moral high ground. Like, I know what you're going through. And it's like, if you did, like, if you've experienced that, then I understand it. Like, that person I listen to, but I'm not listening to fucking Claire and Caitlin and Brenna and fucking Stacy and all these goddamn women who are like, oh my God, I can't stand. It makes me fucking sick to my stomach. But God, I mean, fucking Ruby, I'm, what's fucked up? I'm kind of sad that all she broke was her nose when she fell out of the treehouse. You know what I mean? Like, I wish she'd fallen into like an open pit with like knives and poison tips sticking out, just something crazy. When she fell and broke her.
Oh, I was just going to say, sorry, you're mid joke. Keep going. Sorry.
No, I wish she'd fallen and like somehow her leg got shoved up her own ass or like something crazy, but it was like, oh my God, I just her breaking her nose. I'm like, it's nothing. I wish it was a little bit more, violence. This little girl's a cunt. She's a fucking cunt.
It was shocking, actually. I find it shocking. I was just like, whoa, okay. Well, not only that, but because they showed the fall, like, don't they actually, like, I'm not watching it at the moment, but I remember seeing the fall, or is that just something I imagined in my head? Like, you see her hit the ground, and I was like, oh, fuck.
I don't think so. I think they show him giving the shove, and then they cut over rather quickly to her, like, laying on the ground. But, like,
right.
Her saying, you don't have a fucking dad. Yeah. Like, you don't have a fucking dad. Nobody likes you. Nobody likes being around you. And it's like, holy shit. Like, this is one of the girls that end up being on a documentary because they bullied some kid into blowing their brains out. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? Like, saying that kind of shit.
13 Reasons Why fucking the Babadook edition.
Right, yeah, that's why your mom doesn't want you. And it's like, dude, if I were 6 years old, and I guess they do show the fall. They don't show her hitting the ground. I'm just watching it right now.
But here's the thing, like, they're 6 years old. Like to us, those fucking insults hurt a lot, right? Because we understand like the connotations and like the meaning of like everything behind it. And I know, like, as a 6-year-old, I know that is, I'm sure that Ruby knows that is hurtful, what she's saying. But like, as a 6-year-old, those kinds of like insults aren't really, I don't know, to me, like, they weren't, not that, I don't have a dad, but like, she's not considering the ramifications of these, I think, right? As a 6-year-old?
I think so. I mean, the ramifications, yes, but like, she's like, knowing that his dad has died, and it's not like dad picked up and left. Dad died. And like, if I were at 6, At 6 years old, you know what my comeback to calling somebody, making fun of boiled, dripping, beet, fart, sniffing, bubble butt. I'd say some shit like that. I never once said, oh, yeah, your grandmother got killed in a car wreck. She hated you. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's like some Damien in the Omen type shit. I don't know, man. Like that is some dark, fucked up shit to say to somebody. And I get it. She's a kid. She doesn't understand like the ramifications of it. But like at 6 years old, like, holy shit, that is evil, man. Like I might call somebody.
I don't want it to get confused that I'm fucking sticking up for her, which I'm not. I'm just saying let's maybe like, I think it's important to consider that she is 6 years old as well.
You're a cunt. She's a cunt. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, God, I fucking hated this little girl. Like, I wish if they pushed her off and just like a hell mouth opened terrible. Underneath her and just fucking claimed her. So yeah, whatever. She pushes her out of the fucking treehouse. She breaks her nose. Claire freaks out. They take her back home. On the way home, I love that's such a great him screaming his fucking guts out and her. Why can't you just be normal? Like, God damn, that's fucking. Oh man, like again. Maybe the 6-year-old doesn't understand the ramifications, but God, this woman certainly fucking does, man. Saying that to a kid, just screaming it at him in the car, like, holy fuck.
No, we did go past this really short conversation between Claire and Amelia. It was just that like, that post sort of like outburst that she has at the table there. But like Claire kind of says,
like get over it, basically.
Yeah. Like as soon as anyone mentions Oscar, as soon as they even so much as hint at it, you can't cope. And then Amelia's just like, she's got that kind of like, denial about it. She's like, that's not true. But clearly it is.
Right. No. And thanks for bringing that up. Cause like, I was just so confused with this little bitch getting both her arms like ripped off and shoved up her ass that I totally forgot about it. But no, what she says is great. She was like, I haven't brought him up. I don't talk about him. It's like, that's not the same thing as closure. That's denial.
Right.
And I think that's so great. But her point to Claire is, how does that impact you? Like, what the fuck does that have to do with you? And I think that's great. I think that I'm not saying, oh, that's great. I agree with that. I'm saying that it's her in denial. And through her denial, she was lashing out at other people around her. Now, granted, Claire's a self-centered piece of shit, but at the same time, like she has a point. She is a self-centered piece of shit, but with a point. That's what I think is so interesting.
And Claire is Amelia's sister. Like she does have a responsibility to look after her sibling.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. However shittily and minimal it might be.
Right.
But yeah, so on the way home, Sam lapses into these convulsions at the sight of seeing something that Amelia can't see. They take him to the doctor, and most of his results, I mean, they come back normal. What does he say? His brain basically like overheated from like stress or something.
Yeah. Apparently it's a thing. I didn't even know about that, but okay.
Right. Yeah. And it's so fucking like, wow. Okay. For that happened to a 6-year-old, like, whew, that's got to be some intense shit, man. But she's like, listen, I need some goddamn drugs, dude. I need some fucking drugs like now. And you can tell the doctor needs some convincing, and he's like, most times in cases, I only do this if it's really bad. She's like, it's really bad. I need this. And I mean, and she's not wrong. She does. She needs this shit. He cuts her this fucking prescription. I guess they deleted the scene where she goes out and takes the prescription, sells it, and gets hooked on coke, and then starts like hookering herself out. I think they cut that out. I think it's a deleted scene.
But I do like. Okay, I know we've kind of like gone past it a little bit, but like before Samuel wigs out, just like how creepy it is that he just starts saying, get out, like to the Babadook that's in the car. Like, can you imagine what's going through his mind? Like what he is seeing?
I wonder, was he saying it to the Babadook or was he saying it to his mom? Like, get out of the car, like get out. I didn't know. It's interesting that both of us watched it and had a different take. I mean, it's a small thing. It's not a big deal, but like, that's so interesting that both people can watch the movie and be like, I thought he was saying get out of the car to his mom. But I mean, either way,
I didn't even think about that. But I mean, like, why? Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like didn't he kind of like glimpse over to the right a little bit when he said it?
Oh no, he's like staring hardcore at the fucking window.
Oh.
I can't help but laugh though when he starts like and he like
you fucking psychopath.
I know, it's fucked up. It's fucked up because like this kid's a great actor, but that part does make me laugh a little bit, just a little bit. Like, you know,
ladies and gentlemen, this is the episode where Colin declares his war on children.
Children are what they take. Life. No, I'm just kidding. I do have an aversion to children. I don't want kids. I'm the type of uncle that pumps a child full of caffeine and hands him back. I'm like a grenade. I'm an asshole uncle. I'm like letting my nephews watch Reservoir Dogs. They're like fucking 10 years old. And I'm like, yeah, watch this. Fuck it. I mean, he's going to cut this guy's ear off.
Dude, all I heard you say was, I'm the type of uncle that pumps.
No, fuck. That's terrible.
That's all I heard.
Do you guys want to go?
We are not coming back from this. We are not coming back from this.
You guys want to go stay the night with your Uncle Colin? No.
Oh shit. Okay.
There's something inherently creepy about anytime you put uncle something in front of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like grandpa so-and-so, aunt's uncle is like, It makes me think about Patton Oswalt.
There and sit there with your cousin. I mean, uncle over there.
Patton Oswalt has a great bit where he says something. I'm going to take you down to Uncle Touchy's naked puzzle basement or something. Oh. It's fucking hilarious, dude. It's so funny. So yeah, I'm sorry. I fucking just skipped up in my notes. Yeah, the doctor, she gives him she gives her the medication for the drugs. She finally, fucking drugs his ass up and knocks him out. But I love this exchange where she's like, listen, you got to promise you're not going to talk about this anymore. He's like, if you promise to protect me, I promise to protect you, and then I'll promise not to talk about it anymore. It's like, damn, this kid's smart. He's bargaining, you know?
I also want to acknowledge that, like, Amelia tells the doctor, like, when the doctor suggests that he see a psychiatrist, she says, of course he needs to see someone. Like, she this is the first time that she admits that he needs to see someone.
Oh yeah, I didn't even catch that. That's cool. Yeah. I didn't even catch that. That's so weird.
Fucking dumb cunt.
I know, right? Well, it also begs the question, like, it begs the question. It's like, if your fucking kid needs help, why haven't you gone to take him to somebody to get help? Like, that is kind of weird. Like, I get it. You need a solution like now. You're tranquilizing him so you can just get fucking, you can just get this shit done. But no, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's like, yeah, why don't you fucking like drop him off with his grandparents for a weekend? Fuck, dude, get rid of this kid for a weekend. But yeah, so she, he ends up, giving her the drugs, and she sleeps until fucking like 11 o'clock the next day. God damn, dude. Like,
yeah, that's fucked.
Right, yeah, dude. I mean, in reality, this fucking woman wakes up and like the kid has taken a Sharpie to the walls and like shit in his hair and killed the dog and like just all types of fucked up shit. But I guess, he's so pumped up full of drugs too. He'd never fucking know the difference. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find exactly. Oh yeah, this is where she goes to bed. She wakes up at 11 and she finds the book, and it's been totally fucking repaired. That is not a brand new book. That to me is less creepy. The fact that somebody went to the effort to rebuild this book is like, oh man, that's fucking spooky, dude. There's something about that. Like, oh man, that just.
But also, this didn't scare me. Like, this is like this is tropey now. I don't know. Maybe in 2014, maybe it wasn't, but I've definitely seen this before. Like, I specifically remember it. Fucking Annabelle, dude. Like, they throw out the doll and she's. No, they get a knock on the fucking door, and there it is on the porch. Like, there it is. Surprise, surprise, ladies and gentlemen. We're at minute 40, and it's not over yet. I don't know. I just think it's a bit of a trope.
It's tropey, but I dig it because the book is a little different this time. And then the book, when she starts flipping through, it's her breaking the dog's neck and killing
cool.
Sam. Absolutely. And slitting her throat. And I'm like, holy fuck. Like I thought that was pretty fucking badass. But yeah, I can see your point. It's definitely tropey in some ways. She starts flipping through it. The book's been changed a little bit. She burns it. And she calls Claire, who offers no fucking help at all. She's like, "Listen, I have my own problems. I have book club at 6, and Ruby has soccer at 7. I couldn't possibly do anything about it. I'm so sorry. I only work 18 hours a week, and I'm just swamped. I'm just so swamped."
Fuck off. All right?
I fucking
like your sister is asking you for help. Like she has to have a root canal in the crown. Like eat a dick.
Right, yeah, I wish, like, I would love if at the end of this, the Babadook was just like, "Listen, I'm sorry about all this. You have a really rough life. Your sister's kind of a bitch, though. Like, I'm going to go take it out on her. It's just a thing I've been doing since I was a kid. It's like a coping thing. I'm just going to go take it out on her. I feel really bad about this."
The Babadook's like, "All right, I'm going to head out."
No, that's like, it reminds me of spoilers for It Chapter 1, not Chapter 2. Because the whole time in It Chapter 1, there's kind of a hope that Georgie might still be alive, and then Bill has to make the choice to fucking shoot Georgie in the head, and it's not really Georgie though, it's Pennywise. And I can't remember if I heard this on, like, it might have been Hey Do You Remember, or it might have been like a comic strip that I saw, but Bill shoots Georgie, and then Pennywise comes out from around a corner. He's like, "Hey, oh my God." And Pennywise is like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? You shot your own brother." I don't know why, it just made me fucking think of that. It's really funny. So yeah, she goes to the cops. The cops are, this is great. I love this. Yes, go to the cops. It's reasonable. Go to an authority. The authority is over you as well, and they're looking at you with fucking eyes sideways now. And I love that. I fucking love it, because it's a sane, reasonable, logical choice to involve a higher authority to protect you and your child. But the problem is, she goes in there with her hands fucking black. She has no makeup on. Her hair is crazy looking. And they're just like, so somebody's stalking you and you have no evidence of it, and there's phone calls, but like they're not saying anything. And it sounds like paranoid fucking delusions. And I think it's so great when all the cops just start staring at her, and she's like, "Oh, forget about it. Forget about it." I'm like, "Oh, that's fucking
Absolutely.
BA, man."
There was something in this that kind of reminded me of like an Edgar Wright cut. Like I was just like, I think it was like that cut of like those two cops in the background, and just like, what the fuck? I don't know why. Something about that just reminded me of like something you'd see in Hot Fuzz.
Right. Yeah. It reminded me of World's End, because they're all android and they just like turn and watch them the whole time. They're going through Newton Haven the whole time. That's what it reminded me of, is these people in the background just staring at you. But yeah, so she goes to cops who seem doubtful and suspicious of her back at home. I love she comes home and he's like Mrs. Roach has Parkinson's. That's why hands shake. Like, holy fuck, kid. It makes me think of a line from Mrs. Doubtfire where she's like, the smallest one, the girl that played Matilda. I can't remember, Mara Wilson, I think is the actress's name. But the youngest one in Mrs. Doubtfire, when they first meet Mrs. Doubtfire, she's like, "She has too much perfume on." And Sally Field is like, "Hush." She's like, "Oh no." She's like, "I appreciate that kind of honesty in a child. It usually disappears with old age and politics." It's like, that's fucking great, dude. I dig that line. But back at home, the dog's starting to bark at Amelia, kind of a little bit of a sign. I trust dogs in movies. The dog is always like some kind of radar for this shit, And she finds that they have this bug infestation, or so I guess she's fucking smoking meth. Meth is a hell of a drug. That's all I'm going to say, lady. Like, you start thinking there's bugs crawling in your shit. And she starts seeing these roaches crawl out of this hole behind the refrigerator.
She peels back the wallpaper.
Right. It just made me think. I had a teacher in high school that used to be a prison guard. And he said there was a woman who had smoked a bunch of meth and one night was like eating her dinner and took like the plastic spoon and started cutting the skin off of her arms because she thought there were bugs under her skin. And I was like, holy shit, where can I get me some of that? No, I'm just kidding.
Dude, it didn't even occur to me like that the bugs under the wallpaper might be like symbolic of like how she feels under her skin.
Right. Yeah. I think that's what kind of triggered that in my head was like, okay, so she's really starting to feel like something is like it's something is underneath the surface. There is like an infestation.
Yeah.
Which is, it's interesting. It's an interesting way to look at it. What do these guys call them? We call them the Department of Child Services show up. Or I'm sorry, that's what my notes said. We just call them like the DCS. What do they call them in Australia?
So it's funny. I actually used to work for them. They're called. Well, I mean, like it's by state, right? Like so, here in New South Wales, they're called the Department of Family and Community Services, but in this, they're just called the Department of Community Services.
Okay, cool. Like, yeah. So basically, they're like taking kids away from deadbeat parents and shit like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like there's that, and they're basically they kind of like run the whole sort of like welfare system. So. I mean, obviously, yeah, kind of like, putting kids in foster homes and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, before any of the listeners makes any judgment, that was not part of my job. I was working in the legal team, so not my job.
Well, I dig this when they show up. Like, so basically, are they checking on him because he hasn't been to school, or did like somebody call? I couldn't really pick up on exactly why they were there. Like, did they?
I assumed it was the police.
Okay, cool. I thought it might have been like Claire or the school.
No,
somebody was calling. No,
I assumed the police because they saw Claire's the knuckles, her knuckles.
Right, they were all black and shit.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that fucking makes sense now. I was wondering. I was like, I thought that this might have been like a checkup. Like, hey, he's been out of school. Like, we have to come and figure out why your kid hasn't been in school for a while.
Actually, you know what? Scratch that. I am fucking wrong because the man says the Babbage Bay Primary School has asked us to stop in and say hello.
That's what it is. Okay, I thought it was like something school related for a second there, but I fuck it. I like the thing that the cops found out. I don't give a fuck.
But then again, I don't think it'll be the cop. Like, I think the cops would come here with the community service people. Like, I don't think that they just call the community service people and then like get them to go. I think they would like come together.
Right. Like, hey, she's probably violent and going to kill her kid, but yeah, you guys have fun with that.
Amelia, we have a warrant for your arrest.
Well, basically, the Department of Child Services show up at the worst fucking time, make her look like a bug-eyed crackhead.
Yeah, literally bug-eyed, right?
Right, literally. The first thing Sam says, they pull up, and she's like, he's like, I'm tired because mommy gave me all the drugs.
and what did she say, dude? Not drugs, tranquilizers.
You're right. Yeah, it's like, lady, that's not like that's a prescribed medication would be a more formal like way to say it. But yeah, I mean, it's fucking. I mean, holy shit, the worst timing and the worst. I mean, the place looks like shit. You look like a crackhead. Your kid is on drugs. You're on drugs. Like, it's fucking nuts, man. They show up.
You're talking about some fucking hole in the wall, right?
Right, yeah, going on about a hole in the wall that's not even there. It's like, oh my God, could not make her look any fucking worse, man. But yeah, so what do they say? We're going to come back in a couple of days. We've obviously caught you at a bad time. At least they're somewhat like, they're understandable. They're like, we'll come back and we'll check up on you, later. But that night, I guess, I love that Sam, he's like, I'm going to bed. She's like, oh, it's 6:00. Oh, you have to stay up because the medication doesn't work properly. Yeah. She like makes him stay up. She's like turning up the TV on him and shit. I'm like, because now she's starting to like, yeah, something is in the fucking house. Like some shit is going down. And
I like how this works because it's kind of like, like out of necessity, right? Like the Babadook is kind of making her want Sam's presence around. Like she wants, like she's now wanting Sam to be with her. Like whereas at the start you kind of got the sense that she was like a little over him, like moving away from her in the bed and stuff. Whereas like now because the Babadook's been introduced and she's aware of the Babadook, then she's like, all right, Sam, you know what? Stay up with me and comfort me because this is fucking horrifying. So like kind of like by necessity, she's like had to, I guess, get closer to her son.
Right, yeah. It's strength in numbers, even if it is a fucking 6-year-old kid. But But I mean, this is kind of like I guess what you'd say our midpoint, our half climax, if you will, something a half climax like she had earlier.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that night the Babadook finally makes its first appearance to us and Amelia, and that's what's important. Is like Sam has seen this thing. We are watching the story with Amelia. So we don't need to see this yet. We need to wait and see it with Amelia because she is our vessel. She is our scapegoat. We are seeing things through her eyes, and it makes so much sense for her just to see it now. And I think that's so fucking good because I think Sam is probably more susceptible to it and the fact that he would believe about it quicker. But with her, I think that it's like, yeah, he's a child and he's got that fear of just, a childlike fear. You're an adult with adult like guilt and anger and denial and loss and grief. So it's like, I need to attack you in like that way. And that's what I think is so interesting about it is like the choosing to reveal this thing at the halfway point was so fucking cool. What did you think about I know we talked about it briefly, but what do you think about like the design of this? Did you dig it? Did you not dig it?
No, it looks awesome, dude. It looks so. At first, it looked like otherworldly. Like it looked like I was actually a little disappointed. Like by the end of it, like I was just like, oh, it's kind of like a creepy looking man. But I actually thought it was. I originally thought it was going to be like a creature, like more of a creature. But I guess that it makes sense that it's sort of like a man, because I guess it is her dead husband that's haunting her in her dreams. Or like this manifestation, the reason why she's going through all of this is because of her dead husband. So it makes sense that it takes the form of a man. But yeah, man, I like the elongated fingers. Like I like the way that it moves, especially this whole scene here. Like the editing adds to it so much. But yeah, the black eyes, like the mouth kind of like open in like the permanent like silent fucking scream. It's like it's awesome, dude. I dig it a lot for sure.
No, yeah, me too. I love the design of it. It's very Victorian era, like German expressionism kind of look, like silent film, like kind of look. What's interesting as I'm looking at this article from Vox.com, and I had to do a little research about this, how the Babadook became the LGBTQ icon we didn't know we needed. And apparently it's become this huge icon in the LGBTQ community. And I was like, what? Wait, what? And it surprised me so much. The Babadook, right. And there are two types of people. This is the article. There are two types of people in this world. People that know the Babadook, the namesake of the acclaimed 2014 Australian horror film, is a queer icon, and people who will soon find out that the Babadook is a queer icon. Pop culture LGBTQ heroes come in all shapes and sizes, but those who will join the pantheon of legends are often revolutionary, sometimes tragic figures who inspire the community regardless of their preferred sexual orientation. So basically it just goes into it became a meme, and they kind of thought that, it was the dramatic persona of it, like the big smiling face and stuff. And I don't know, somewhere along the way, it was just absorbed into this kind of community. And Jennifer Kent was like, at first I thought it was funny, and it was just like, wow, like somebody said that he was gay, called the Babadook gay, like not gay as in like, oh, well, this is lame, this is stupid. Like, no, he is homosexual. And she's like, he's not either or, he's a fictional character, he's an entity. But if they want to take it and run with it, that's awesome. Let them do it. That's cool. And I started looking up pictures, and there was like people at protests with like big, like oh God, like big signs on sticks and shit that had like the Babadook on it. And I was like, that is a strange choice. Like, I mean, I'm not, hey, whatever, dude, you do you. I don't give a fuck either way. That's cool. But like something like have you ever heard of the pink triangles in like the LGBTQ community? Have you ever heard about that at all?
No, I haven't.
Well, the pink triangles were in World War II, or I guess not, but during the Nazi regime, they would make homosexuals wear pink triangles on their uniforms as like a sign that you were gay. And that in the 70s and 80s and the 90s, that became a huge thing of like, they took that back and they started making like an icon out of it, because they had taken this image that was applied with such negativity and reinforce it with positivity. And I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. I could dig that. The Babadook, though? I was like, that's so fucking random.
It's fucking weird.
I mean, I know it is weird. It's like, well, that's cool, I guess. I mean, whatever. It's just a random bit of trivia that I was like, I didn't know. I would have never guessed that in a million years. You know, I have no personal problem with it, but like, that would be like grabbing like Oscar the Grouch and being like, I don't know, like Oscar the Grouch being like a Black Lives Matter icon. It's like, wait, what the fuck? This is so odd. Like, I don't understand this. But I tell you what, let's end on that incredibly awkward note. Do you want to take a break here?
Yeah, dude, let's do it.
Okay, awesome. Guys, stick around. We'll be right back with the second half of our coverage of The Babadook.
Well, look who made it this far into the episode. Just while we're taking a quick break here, we've got a few things that we just wanted to put out there for any newcomers, or if you're not part of our growing community, maybe this could benefit you too. Firstly, we just want to let the newbies know about our episodes and the way Midnight Double Feature currently is structured. As you know, right now you're listening to one of our feature presentations. When we started the podcast, we basically built the show around our feature presentations. These are movies that we choose to cover and basically go through everything in the movie that's worth talking about sequentially. These episodes are generally longer, and we're definitely looking at ways to spice up our feature presentations by hopefully getting guests on. We also have our upcoming attractions episode. Typically, these come out during the week and are much more shorter than our feature presentations. These are hosted by Matt Vella and basically consist of a conversation between Matt and I about any movie news that's worth talking about, quick reviews of movies that are out of the cinema, and other hijinks. Finally, we have our special features. These are usually one-off special episodes that are mostly experimental and don't really have any specific definition. They could be a sit-down with a cast or crew member, a conversation between the hosts, or just a straight-up different thing that might not even relate to film. Before I let you get back to the episode, I just wanted to thank our listeners and supporters. We definitely couldn't have done any of this without your guys' constant support. If, for some reason, you're not a part of our growing community, head to our socials. We've got 2 pages on Facebook, Midnight Double Feature, which is our main page and has our formal announcements, and we also have the After Party, which is where we post memes, news, and teasers of what's to come on Midnight Double Feature. We're also on Instagram, which is at Midnight Double Feature, and Twitter, which is at MDF Pod. You can also send us an email if you have any grievances or would like to let us know what we're doing wrong. That's midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, guys. Back to the show.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. Coming back with our second half of The Babadook. Coming at you because we are freshly squeezed, as we always like to say. So yeah, we're just going to pretty much jump right back into it. We just kind of left off where the Babadook has finally made its appearance to Amelia, finally made its appearance to us. And we get it's almost like our only real shot of it in the whole movie when you think about it. Like there's some silhouettes later on and there's some little creepy, shots here and there, but it's really kind of our only like face-to-face look with it. And it's real quick too. And I love that. I love the fact that what we see is like, it's all practical. Like there's almost like no CGI in this movie. And it's just really clever editing and great, like, practical effects. Like I think the guy who did a lot of their practical effects is actually the guy who does the Babadook. And I was like, oh, that's fucking weird, man.
That's cool.
I always dig that. Like Tom Woodruff Jr. is a special effects guy, and he worked on the Monster Squad and Pumpkinhead and Alien 3 and shit, but he was the guy in the suit in Pumpkinhead. He was the guy in the werewolf costume. Or no, he's the guy in the Creature from the Black Lagoon and Monster Squad. Like he does a lot of shit like that. But either way, so this thing finally shows up.
Oh, just quickly, Colin. Sorry, it just reminded me, and I feel like you'd love it. And this might be a note just for you. So I know I'm going to forget if we record the podcast and then I'll tell you after. The latest episode of Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man Beyond, has Rick Baker on it. It's like a 2.5, it's a long conversation. Rick Baker's talking about all of his insights and stuff. And did you know he played the original King Kong? Not in the the 40s movie, the 70s one. He was the guy in the suit. That's so fucking cool, dude. It's such a great conversation.
I think No, I didn't even know. I think that's the one they did with like Jeff Bridges or something in like the 70s or the 80s. Like, yeah, I had no idea. I think that one he climbs like the Twin Towers.
The Twin Towers, yeah. That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, yeah. I did not know that. That guy, talk about an illustrious career. Like, holy shit. It's like Stan Winston, Rick Baker, and Rob Bottin are like the holy trinity of special effects with Tom Savini sprinkled in there.
And Phil Tippett. He did a lot of Jurassic Park.
I know that. What did he do?
He did a lot of Jurassic Park, like the original Jurassic Park. He did a lot more as well. I'm pretty sure he was involved with Star Wars as well somewhere.
Okay, I was going to say, I know that name. I know that name somewhere. But yeah, it's just like the Infinity Zones of special effects, like makeup. So yeah, this is, the Babadook has finally come to visit them. We see them or visit her. We see this face to face, and it's kind of, we get the first sense that it's taking her over. Like, she ends up staying up all night, and Samuel comes in the next day and he's like, Mom, I'm really hungry. There's no food. And she's like, well, why don't you just go eat shit? I'm like, holy fuck. Dude, that is brutal, dude.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
And there's not enough. I mean, we haven't talked enough. I know that we've said that these two actors are great. And I mean, Noah Wiseman is great, but S.D. Davis is like, she cuts so well between like being vulnerable and being, trying to be strong, but at the same time, this thing is starting to take over her, and she's kind of, she's kind of losing it. She kind of is becoming this thing, and it's like, holy shit, man. She does a great job between like being scared and being maternal and also being menacing. Like she has a great turn between all that. But the scene that really gets me here is where she's, again, it's like it's slowly starting to like take her over. I mean, and not like it's wearing her down. It's beating her down. She stayed up all night. We get another one of those amazing transitions where we just see it turn to daytime, like right in front of our eyes. And, I like to call this is, I said this off air to you. This is the part where Amelia starts the Amelia is losing her goddamn mind section. But I like what you said more. It's just where Amelia is now turning into like Jack Torrance in The Shining.
Dude,
I mean, that's
seriously
basically what it is.
Yeah. That's why I made that comparison. Like right at the start of the episode, I was like, this is like The Shining. But I do love, I do love like stories like this where, it's just kind of like that descent into madness. And the only way out of that is to, in this case, the only way out of that is to pretty much confront what you've been running away from, rather, like, the grief or the acceptance of your child. Like, I love that that's where we're kind of headed.
No, yeah, for sure. Because I mean, she apologizes to Sam for snapping on him. They go and they go out to this restaurant and eat. I love all these kids just acting crazy behind him. And it's like, and they say that I'm a behavioral problem. And there's like all these kids like running amok behind him. But, she's driving home. The Babadook has this attack again. She sees the bug. She hits the guy's car. I love that. She just like stares at the dude and she's like, see ya, and just fucking drives off. Like, I don't know who is the guy that plays Pete in Shaun of the Dead? It's crazy. Pete, he did the voice of Darth Maul. It's like Pete.
Peter, his name? Peter Serafinowicz.
Yeah, I don't know why when the bald guy first pulled up, I was like, is this a bald Peter Serafinowicz? It's like, oh, what the fuck? But no, this is so much like The Shining because like she comes home. She's fucking ignoring Mrs. Roach when she walks in, but then the scene of her just like sitting in the bathtub and Samuel comes up and she picks Samuel up. Like, that reminds me so much of Jack sitting there with Danny Torrance in The Shining and him being like, you would never do anything to hurt me or mommy, would you? And it's like, oh shit. Like it's this, you're right in like the fucking like mouth of the beast, like right there. You have no idea how close you are.
And what kind of like adds to it a lot more is just how strangely calm she is. Like just like the strange like quietness about her.
No, yeah, it's this like subtle menacing. It's like she has this very dreamy, distant kind of look in her eyes, but just like underneath the surface, she's just thinking about holding his head under the fucking water. But But I mean, basically, she's losing her goddamn mind. You know, she snaps at him again. She's like sleeping with her husband's violin, and she's staring at the ceiling and having all these like blurred out fucking images of like who knows what the fuck is going on. There's something that gets said because she's laying in this bed and she's like kind of half in and half out of it, and we have that real smoky transition. But she's like it's like something's in the house. And you hear the voices like whispering. You know what I'm talking about?
No, elaborate.
It's like when she's laying in bed, it's right before she goes downstairs and she catches Sam on the phone. And I think it's actually Sam. It's actually Sam on the phone, but his voice is like, it's like, there's something in the house. There's something in it. And it's like this weird like voice that she's hearing. And that's when she sits up in bed. Bed and she goes downstairs and right. Okay. Yeah. Now you know. Yeah. Goddamn.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I do remember that. It's you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me like of a lot of like what you would, it kind of like a manifestation of paranoia. Like, you know what I mean? Like kind of like this whole like, you know, they're talking about me, like someone's talking about me behind my back, blah, blah. And I think that's where the whispers are, right? Like it's kind of like it reminded me of like a lot of Lost, just like in terms of the fucking cloud monster. Like it always came like with whispers, but obviously this has a much different sort of intent, because that's exactly what's happening. Like, you know, when she goes downstairs, that actually is like, you know, it's Samuel talking about her behind her back. Like, you know, that's the paranoia coming into it too.
Right, yeah, and that's what I don't even really think it's her being able to hear his voice. I think it's almost like the Babadook like talking in her ear. Like, this is what your son is saying. What does Grady say in The Shining? He's like, your son is trying to bring an outsider into the situation. Like, it reminds me of that. But basically, she comes downstairs and Sam is on the phone with the next door neighbor, Miss Roach. I'm so sorry for troubling you. Oh, it's no worries. Talk soon. And, oh my God, dude, the switch from fucking night and day. Like I told you not to call anyone. You deliberately disobeyed me. Do you want to frighten Miss Roach, an old lady who can hardly walk? Like trying to guilt him into it. And like, I think that at this point, it's all like the Babadook has like almost got its complete hold over her. And he's, and the way that she's talking, telling him to take the pack off, you know, you're embarrassing me and blah, blah. And she cuts the fucking phone line. But holy shit, when she walks away with a knife and he's like, well, you know, I was just trying to warn somebody because, you know, the Babadook made you wreck the car. And she's like, what did you say? You're like, oh, fuck, kid, shut up. Like, no. You have no idea what the fuck you're doing, man.
Absolutely. And that imagery of her with the knife, like that was Jack Torrance. Like, I'm just like, that is like, it's Jack Torrance. For sure. Like, although he didn't have did he have a knife? Or he had the axe?
He had an axe. Right. And I dig Katisha saying, you know, I was trying to warn you so you wouldn't let the Babadook in. And she's like, well, I'm going to make sure nothing gets in or nothing gets out for the rest. And this is like, okay, we are all hands on deck, everybody to battle station. She's got the knife. She's locking the doors. Sam's getting the weapons ready. You know, this is basically like Kevin McAllister prepping before right. Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci break into his house. And yeah,
I'm just picturing Joe Pesci in the role of the Babadook now. Hey, kid.
Hey, Babadook.
Hey, Babadook.
You think I'm fucking scary? Like I'm a fucking clown? Like I fucking amuse you?
Scary how? Huh? Scary how? Funny how? Dance, boy. Dance. The Babadook dance.
You know, I got to cut it off. It's stuck in a grill. It's a sin, Ma. I got to cut it off. So yeah, they go upstairs, you know, she's basically drugging him again. So we'll shut the hell up. Yeah. And, she's watching the fucking TV and he's falling asleep downstairs. I love it. She wakes up and she has this vision and sees Sam lying in blood, stabbed to death. And it's like, oh fuck. And
that fucking scared the shit out of me, dude. Like more so than anything. That might have been the most scariest like thing in this entire movie for me. Just that like hard cut to him just like lying on his back with the blood all over him.
Right, because you're kind of like, at this point, you don't know. Like, for all we know, she could fucking kill this kid. Like, I mean, it's believable at this point. And what gets me is she's watching the cartoon of the big bad wolf putting on like the wolf in sheep's clothing kind of shit. But yeah, it's just like the crazy part is like her waking up with the knife and her holding it above him, and it's like, the vision of you seeing this almost made you do it in real life. That's what scares the hell out of me about it. It's like, God, that's fucking terrifying. But yeah, she's like bribing him with ice cream, I guess. It's like it really kind of makes you feel dizzy at some points, how much she's bouncing back and forth in between this state of like this fugue, crazy hypnotic state to being like this, like, wonderful mother who's like, you can have as much ice cream as you want, like, go ahead, and blah blah blah. And it's almost like nauseating. Sometimes you're like, what the fuck is going on, man? Like, it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to keep up with, because, and one of my favorite scenes coming up is, they're eating this ice cream and she's watching TV and she ends up watching the news report, and it's like almost the news report about her, and you see the window and it's her smiling out. That is a fucking amazingly terrifying shot.
Love it.
Where she
love it.
Oh, it's so fucking good.
She looks so creepy too, but yeah. You know what? You kind of reminded me of something, actually, like, now that I think about it. Just how Samuel is kind of like perceiving this and taking it all in and being, and like how it's kind of like how he's being treated by Amelia, like how Amelia is just like, 1 second she's, offering him ice cream, and then the next she's, fucking got a knife in her hand. It reminded me of like how children can sometimes be, I guess, how they can end up as the child of like a divorce. Like, in this case, it's obviously not a divorce; it's a fucking it's a death of a parent. But like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of like it's that kind of like
a tug of war.
Yeah, like a tug of war, and like a constant shifting of moods, and like a constant like, I can't really speak to it much because my parents are they're not divorced or anything, but like it's kind of like this whole, nothing is ever going to be calm, or there's never going to reach a sort of like, we're never going to reach a sense of normalness. It's just always going to be back and forth, back and forth. That's what it kind of reminds me of now that you talk about it.
No, yeah, I can totally see that. It's like, there's never going to be a spot where you're just like calm and flat and just relaxed. It's like there's always, it's like the ebb and flow of like the sea. Yeah. It's always
just unpredictable,
going back and forth. Right, exactly. I dig the fuck out of this because she snaps up, sees Sam's not on the couch, looks up, and he's like sleepwalking, and he leads her down into the basement. It's not really him, as we come to find out. And this is where I mean, we've seen Oscar, the husband, before. We saw him at the very beginning, but it's been so long. I love this because what it does is it makes us almost like long to see him again, because it's been an hour since we've seen him on screen. So when he finally pops back up, like, you can feel the longing that she's had for this. Like, it has been, we feel like it's been eternity that we've been in here. And I mean, imagine how long it must really feel for her. And it's like, holy shit. Like, it really kind of hits it home for you how desperate she must be to see this, to see Oscar again. But, she embraces him, we can be together. All you have to do is bring me the boy. And you're like, that is an ominous fucking sentence. Like, bring me the child.
Bring me the boy.
Like, right. But I dig this. I dig the fact that she is offered like the ultimate thing that she wants, and she denies it. And that's fucking badass. Like, that shows you a strong maternal, like, and then and it kind of heralds back to a comment that we got on this that I want to read out later. But the fear of a mother losing that child is just like, will surpass, even if it is this like kind of kid that's tormenting you and embarrassing you and maybe has some kind of like behavioral problems. Like, it's still not enough for her to like turn on him. And I think that's so fucking great. I think that's badass. Like, not even hesitating. She's like, no, fuck that. I'm not doing it.
I think it's earned. Absolutely. Upstairs. Yeah. Is it earned though? Do you feel like it's earned here in this moment?
No, I definitely think so because so far she has defended Sam. She's gone to bat for him. She's done all of this shit. And it's like, I don't see the mom doing that unless she really felt deep down that she really did love this kid and really did want to, give him some kind of like stability and give herself some kind of stability. I think that, like you said earlier, she can't possibly get into like a real showing affection and being like a real mother because she's still dealing with this shit. And I think that the reason why Sam is probably so weird is because she's fucking in denial about stuff. Like she's not coping. So like this one aspect of her whole life that has thrown her life into this like total disarray has been Sam's entire fucking life. When you think about it, like I love, and we've skipped over some stuff where he said, she doesn't want me to have a dad. Like, he's my dad, and, blah, blah, blah. And it's true. Like she's denying him any memory of like this person that was going to be a huge, like fundamental part of his life. So I dig it when like, it's the thing that it's kind of like the devil's temptation of like, here's the thing you want the most, but you have to give me this other rather significant thing. And she's like, no, fuck that. I'm out. Like, I'm not doing that shit. Because I think it's ultimately like the last test. She has to be tested by this thing willingly. And if she's not going to do it willingly, that's when it basically takes her by force right here. It chases her upstairs and we kind of get that silhouetted shot of it coming through the kitchen. But it kind of, I guess this is the part where, for lack of a better term, it becomes almost like a possession kind of thing. Because what I really dig is, she's downstairs and she's watching the TV and the dog is barking at her. And as soon as she looks at the dog, it just stops. And it's like the dog knows you're not Amelia anymore. I need to shut the fuck up.
Normal.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, and I don't want to, like, I could be completely wrong, but when she cocks her head and she looks over at that dog, it almost looks like they did that in reverse because like when she sets the remote down, it is so like robotic looking when you watch it. And it's so, it could possibly just be her doing a fucking absolutely great job. But when she sets down the remote and she turns that head, it is creepy as fuck. It's very unnatural the way that shot looks. And I'm probably fucking just talking out of my ass, but it looked like that unnatural kind of reverse shot that goes on. But, this is her point of no return, and what a great point of no return to have somebody murder a fucking dog. You want somebody to be hated in a movie and hit a no return point? You have them murder a fucking dog, dude. No, Lindsay and I were like twice watching this. Lindsay goes, is she going to kill that dog? I was like, I don't know. I don't remember. I was like, I don't fucking know. There's only 3 characters in this, and the dog's one of them. So yeah, she's probably going to fucking kill the dog. But I like the fact especially killing the dog because the dog has been kind of a protector. It barks at her. It's always around Samuel as like a somewhat of a protection. And I dig that because now she's like killed like a loyal guardian. And it's like, yeah, now this thing has like started making its way like more and more to him. And I fucking dig that. But yeah, she kills Bugsy, R.I.P. Poor little pupper. But she fucking snaps his goddamn neck. I'm like, holy shit. And this is really where all hell breaks loose. The shit has hit the fan, for lack of a better term. She rushes upstairs. She's gonna try and kill Sam. She's like, Bugsy's really hurt. We gotta take him to the hospital. It's like, oh, that's fucking crazy. But I got the most feel of Hereditary right here, where she's like banging on the door and she grabs the frame of the door and starts like kicking it in. And I'm like, it reminds me of Toni Collette. It reminded me of Toni Collette just banging her fucking head against the wall in Hereditary. And I was like, holy fucking hell, this is terrifying.
Oh, man. Absolutely, man. Like the whole fucking athletic shit. That was wild.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought when she kicked that fucking door in. I was like, bitch does CrossFit. Good for her, man. So yeah, she kicks the door in, she gets in there and she fucking corners him. And this is where they have this face to face, he's saying, I just want you to be happy. I just want you to be happy, and making fun of him for pissing himself. And she admits sometimes it's you. I wish that it were you that died instead of him, and saying, I want to smash your fucking head against the wall until your brains pop out. But I love this. I love Sam's like, you're not my mother, and it's like, that's fucking awesome. He's got the foresight to know that, like, you don't mean these things because you're not this person. Like, you don't mean them. But
Her response to that, though, I am your mother.
Oh, dude, her voice, especially, and I kind of skipped over it when she was banging on the door and her voice like oscillates, like it changes in pitch and stuff.
Yeah, the modulation.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Right. I really dig that, like with the vocal stuff. But in the same way that I think what's interesting is the Babadook is using these illusions on her. Like Sam is using illusions on her as well. Like he throws the firecrackers and he hits her with the thing, and he's using this like these illusions and trickery to like kind of manipulate her, and he sets traps and stuff, kind of like the Babadook. And that's what I think is interesting is like they both kind of have like similar MOs in different ways, but with different outcomes and for different reasons. And that's what I think is so interesting is like the sleight of hand that the both of them have is what's interesting to me. But yeah, Sam takes off and his ass is totally saved because Miss Roach shows up and asks him if there's anything going on. You know, are you and Danny okay? I love this woman right here. She's like, you know, I love you and Danny. I would do anything for you. I know how hard this has been for you. And I know you don't want me to go on about it. And it's like, man, this woman, like, I wish this sounds like a neighbor that like you could stay up till 3 a.m. fucking like blasting hood rat music and smoking weed, and she wouldn't give a shit. She'd be like, did you have a nice night, darling?
So
this is
it's interesting here because like pretty much like every sentence that Miss Rose says, like Amelia's face like kind of like, you know, drops. Like she kind of like, she's like, oh man, like she actually does mean everything that she's saying. She's like, when she says I love you both, she's like, she fucking definitely means that, and you can see it kind of like starting to affect her.
See, I was wondering about that. Like, do you think it's one of those things where you just needed like, I don't know, kind of like the Prince Charming kiss to like snap the person out of it? Do you think that's what it is? Like, because when she comes back into the kitchen, this is kind of leading right into it. When she goes into the kitchen with Sam, she's like, you know, I'm sick. I need help. I want to be made all better, like blah, blah, blah. Do you think that she's like really meaning this right here? Or do you think this is another illusion? This is another sleight of hand by the Babadook?
I don't know. I want to think that this is Miss Roach actually saying this and actually, you know, kind of like putting this on her, because I mean, if we're taking the metaphor of the movie, right? If we're taking the metaphor of the Babadook to be, I guess, depression or grief or, you know, unable to move on or like, you know, any of those things, then one of the widely recognized remedies of that is to be told that, you know, you're loved and, you know, that you're cared for. So I kind of like that sentiment that Miss Roach is saying to Amelia in this moment is one of the things that would probably, hopefully, snap the Babadook out of, rather snap the Amelia out of the spell that she's under.
I think you're both right and both wrong at the same time, but it's because there's a transition here. I think that when she comes back, I think that she has all of her, you know, what's the right word? She has all of her, you know, was it faculties or facility? Yeah, clarity. She is the pilot, but when she kneels down in front of him, she's like, I want to take you to see your father. It's beautiful there. And it's like, you're going to kill this fucking kid. Like, I think that when she starts that conversation, it's Amelia. And by the end of it, it just morphs back into the Babadook. Cause like, it's not enough. It's like having this old woman say that she loves you. Like, yeah, that's awesome, but it doesn't bring your husband back. And it's just that nagging voice in the back of her head that's like, yeah, you might be loved, but your husband's still dead, blah, blah, blah. It's like, until you confront this, until you can love yourself and forgive yourself and move on with this, it doesn't matter. You know, it has to come from an internal, like, you know, it's kind of like when you're writing a script or writing a story or something, you know, you've got to have like the character's internal struggle and the internal conflict and stuff, and then this external conflict, and then the internal conflict is still not resolved yet. That's what I think is so badass. It's like, you can, you know, like, yes, I love you, but you have to like, you have to kind of come to your own conclusions. You can't just have somebody from the outside come in and fix all your problems. But he goes fucking full Kevin McAllister here. He stabs her in the fucking leg with a knife. She comes downstairs. He pulls the rope and trips her up. and fucking like pugs her in the back of the knees with that chunk of wood, and she smacks herself unconscious. You're like, holy fuck, kid! Like I'd love if he hit her in the knees, her head hit the ground, and then just blood started pouring out. And he's like, oh fuck! Like, I guess I'm just gonna go live with Miss Roach now.
There's one. I think it's after the knife. He's like, sorry, mommy. Can you imagine if he's like, sorry, mommy, after like fucking accidentally killing her?
Yeah, he's like, sorry, mommy, and puts like a corkscrew in the back of her neck. But yeah, so she wakes up and she's tied down, and yeah, we kind of get the exorcism of Amelia here. It's like,
right.
And I dig all this. Like the face rubbing thing is actually a little bit of a throwback to earlier, which you forgot to mention. He was kind of doing that like earlier, like rubbing the sides of her face or whatever. Did you catch that like way earlier on at the beginning of the movie?
Wait, what do you mean? Like her teeth?
No, there's a part where like it's right when she hugs him and she's like, don't do that. And the part that we were kind of like picking on earlier, he kind of does something and he touches the side of her face, and when she's choking him out right here, he does the same thing and she lets him go. I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like, it was just a little, I don't know, maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but basically,
no, there might be something for sure.
Well, I think that's what breaks her spell of him, and he's like, he's just being affectionate, and he's like, listen, I'm not going to hurt you. But she's fucking choking him to death. She drops him and she pukes up that like the venom symbiote, basically. She just like pukes all this shit out.
The black liquid,
but it's still not the. Well, and I love this. I love that Sam, he's such a fucking smart kid, because they leave the basement. They're coming up the steps. And basically Sam is saying like, it's not over, and he's like, you can't get rid of the Babadook. And it's like, God damn, that's such a cool, that's such a cool metaphor for all this, because it's like, you really can't get rid of this. You can only manage it and live with it. And that's what's so important about it, because it fucking rips his ass up the stairs in about 2 seconds. And I was wondering how they filmed some of this shit. Like, are they really taking this little bastard and like slamming him up against the wall and stuff? Because I was watching it when he's getting moved around. I was like, this poor little kid.
It actually looks, it looks super genuine. Like I'm wondering if they, I don't know if they did it backwards somehow, but yeah.
Well, and I was reading a little bit where Jennifer Kent was like, we had to give like a super dumbed down version to Noah to tell him what was going on. Like, he never really saw the Babadook. Like, we didn't want to scar this kid because he was like 6 or 7 when we were filming. This is not like a 10-year-old kid. So we had to be very careful to like make sure not to scar him for life, like doing this shit. And
absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, we're in the last like 10 minutes of this. This is where she finally confronts the Babadook. I love that fucking blacked out side of the room. Just like as you stare into the abyss also stares back into you kind of shit.
Yeah.
And it's where, her husband comes out, put your seat back, sweetie. I think it's going to rain soon, blah, blah, blah. And just kind of reigniting and reoccurring these events. At first I looked up and at her husband, the first time I really clearly saw him, and I was like, that Carl Urban? I was like, no, never mind. That's not Carl Urban. But yeah, I mean, this is, oh God, and his head getting fucking severed. Did you take that as like, is that really what happened to him? Or is that just some like horrifying image
Oh, that's what I took. That's what I took, like as what happened in the accident, I think.
Okay. I was wondering about that, because I was like, is this just something to like, it's just the salt on the wound, or is this really what happened? But as I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, this is probably what really happened. The only thing I don't get, and this is just a small nitpick, when we see this thing coming out of the blackness, like, what is that? Are those wings? Are those arms? Like the two, what is that? Like, I couldn't quite make out exactly what it was.
See, when I was like, when I heard about this movie and like I saw screenshots and stuff, this was the screenshot that just kept coming up. And I kind of like always wondered, and I think maybe that kind of lended to the whole thing of like me thinking that this was like some other, like a creature and not like a man. Like it definitely looks like a giant fucking moth. Like that's what it looked like to me. But I think it might be arms, like kind of like widespread arms.
Right. Yeah. It kind of looks like it's like about to embrace, it's like, come on, like, yeah, that's kind of what I took away from it. It's not a huge nitpick, but it is like, what the fuck is that?
But this is pivotal. Yeah. Like this whole sequence here, right? Like she's like, because if she doesn't say you're nothing, and this is my house, you're trespassing in my house, then yeah, we don't get her, I guess, the end of her character arc.
Right. Like, well, and what this whole scene reminds me of, especially once I started seeing the walls like crack open and stuff, is it really reminded me of The Exorcist. And it was funny because William Peter Blatty, who directed The Exorcist, watched this and he said, this is one of the scariest movies he's seen in years. He's like, this thing scared the fuck out of me. He's like, cause it's not the demons and the Freddys and the Michaels and the Jasons that scare me. It's like the internal shit of like human beings is what scares the hell out of me.
It's William Friedkin.
What did I say? William Peter Blatty?
William Peter Blatty. Did he write the book?
He wrote the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. I always get the William and William. I always get them fucking...
Yeah. Friedkin directed the French Connection, dude. Like, that guy's got some fucking skills.
Yeah, they filmed that shit without like any permits or anything. Nobody knew what the fuck was going on. Like, he's a crazy motherfucker, dude.
He is.
Watch like the making of The Exorcist. Like, holy shit, man. Like he gave fucking... oh God, what's her name? The mom from The Exorcist. Pissed me off. I almost said Linda Blair, but I'm like, wait, that's not it. No, he gave her like fucking permanent back injuries and shit from like hauling her across the room. I was like, oh my God.
Blew her back out, did he?
But yeah, he like she said she was getting jerked around. Ellen Burstyn. They were jerking her back, and she was like, "Hey, can you tell them not to jerk me so hard? Like it's just kind of." It's kind of hurting my back. And he's like, okay, cool. And he just looked over to the stunt guy. He's like, yanked the shit out of her. It's like, oh my God. And that's the one that's in the movie. She like fucked her back up. But back to this movie, basically exactly like what you said. She was performing like her own kind of exorcism. She's like, don't ever come near my kid again. You're not welcome here. Get the fuck out. It tries to take Sam again. She pulls him back and eventually the Babadook just kind of comes forward and then falls flat. It's just the empty clothes. And it's like, yeah, that's basically all it was the whole time. And I think that some people are a little bummed out by this ending because it's kind of like the thing isn't ultimately defeated. Like there's not really like, it's not really like you don't see it explode or travel off somewhere else or get
and that's
trapped
bullshit.
in something.
Like that's so like traditional horror or traditional action stuff. Like this, okay, like you said, dude, like this ending, this makes so much more sense that it's not actually like killed or defeated because these things, these feelings that she has, I guess, and I'm going to use the fucking word again, I've said it so many times, manifestation of what the Babadook is, like grief or, depression, those things don't go away. You just have to learn to live with them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like coming from somebody like, I've had a parent who's died and my parent like remarried. And does my mom not they're married for 40 something years. It's like, no, I'm sure there's not a day goes by that she probably doesn't think about my dad, but that doesn't mean that like, it's still something she lives with. It's not something that she just forgets about. That would be almost more of like a disgrace to the memory of that person. It's just to completely forget like it never happened. But like to actually like deal with it and live with it is like, I don't know. It takes more courage to live than it does to just shrivel up and die like that. And that's what I think is so interesting about a movie like this is, and pretty much wrapping up here, the thing gets banished down to the basement. She gets Sam and we kind of cut to, a little bit of time has lapsed, I guess, maybe a couple days or whatever. It's his proper birthday now, but it's basically her dealing with the shit. And the part that made me laugh and kind of sad at the same time is when we're underneath the earth, like we're looking at the dirt and we pan up and we see the dog buried and we go up to like where she's digging and I was like, oh, poor fucking Bugsy.
Damn it, Bugsy.
But damn it, Bugsy. Just you beautiful fool. But yeah, basically the whole thing is, and there's so much like, I hate sometimes being like the insufferable, like, oh, fucking like symbolism, man. Like I hate that shit. But this movie is like rife with symbolism. If this were a mixed drink, this would be like 90% alcohol and 10% mixer. You know, it's like so much fucking symbolism. But then like literally she's building, she's digging, she's doing a garden. She is sowing the seeds of something new. We see that Samuel's gotten better with the dart gun. Mrs. Roach is still there. They're kind of like, they're building a relationship with expanding upon their relationship with her. And we see her go, she's digging up the dirt and the worms, which is the dirt and the worms are as gross as it sounds. When you die and you're buried in the earth and they pretty much eat your body and stuff. The worms are needed for like fertilizing and turning like the soil and stuff. So it's like, we have to kind of, in a weird way, we have to like take upon this death to give new life to stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And it's really cool in that way, but she goes down and feeds the Babadook because it still stays down there. I don't know how I feel about her, like actually physically going down there and feeding it something. I don't know. That did seem kind of like weird to me. But
it does seem weird. Yeah, but it is adding to the metaphor, right? Like they have to live with it, right?
Right. I would have maybe not in like a physical sense, like, oh, I have to feed this thing like I have a dog. I would rather her go downstairs and I don't know, maybe like pick up something of her husband's or have something where she's like, hey, I really thought about you today and I missed you, but like blah, blah, blah. Like something more of a sentimental, emotional thing rather than somebody like a physical, I have to feed you dirt and worms kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, it's cool either way. It's a small nitpick, but what do you think about Sam's magic trick at the end? I was like, how the fuck did this kid do that, man?
I had the same exact like reaction, dude.
I mean, dude, if that kid can do that shit, then yeah, fuck yeah. Get him out of some normal ass boring school where he's just a number and get this kid working with fucking David Copperfield or something. No, because I just thought that was super badass. But I mean, yeah, so they're on to happier days, and that's pretty much the Babadook, man.
Yeah, man. Fucking love it. Love a good fucking happy ending. Like, it's not the. I was watching this movie and I was like, I'm probably gonna bet that this is going to be super depressing, and by the end of it, it's just going to be me wanting to kill myself because that's the fucking taste it left in my mouth. But yeah, I was not expecting them to literally like close on Sam fucking breaking into a smile and leaning into his mother. I was really not expecting that, but I'm glad that it was here. I think this is such a fantastic movie. I mean, like, we can get into closing thoughts, but we do have a comment that we do want to read, right?
Right, yeah. Before we get to that, I've got to read this off. I pulled up an Amazon review because, like,
hit me.
Yes, this is basically second opinions from how did this get made, but I had to read it because it's always the most bombastic ones that are great. The title of this one, The Worst Film I Have Ever Watched in My Whole Life. It's amazing. I am a huge fan of horror. This is how they worded it. I am a huge fan of horror movie. And so I expected, especially for reading the IMDb review, that this one is going to be a cool movie comparing to The Orphanage and also The Conjuring, which I recently watched in the theater and enjoyed a lot. Well, that was your fucking mistake comparing these movies to something like it's just like exactly
that's what I mean. Like the expectations of it all, right? Like Jesus Christ.
Right, exactly. But this one really make me wasting my time wondering why it got such a high rating here and making me doubt of the quality of the review. If I'm speaking incorrectly, that's how they worded it, and that's how I'm fucking reading it.
Oh my God.
Literally but this one really make me wasting my time is what they God. The movie plots have nothing. The movie plots. I guess it has multiple plots, I guess. I don't know. The story beats me. The movie plots have nothing, just a mother and a boy walking around and around trying to make you feel afraid, but not at all. Babadook is in fact nothing but a character in a book, and the movie does in no way make you feel mood in and in no way make you feel scary even a little bit. After 20 minutes watching, I began to wonder that it may have an amazing plot at the end that scare us. But after 30 minutes watching, I began to feel desperate, and for the time left, I was wondering when it will end so I can go out of the theater and do something else. This one is really horrible and wasting your time. Do not watch it. I really regret to waste my time and money on this one. Rife with spelling errors, for one thing. Good God. Like, really? Like, this is the kind, like, this is, I mean, just fucking, you know what? It's 2 hours later. I don't have the energy. I just don't. I just don't have it anymore.
I have one for you. I have one for you.
Hit me.
All right. 1 star. Very disappointing. I was very disappointed with this film because I had heard so much about it that I had saved it for a real horror treat. Okay. In reality, it was slow, muddled, quick shots, suddenly changing into something completely different, and one did not know what was real, what was a dream, or a hallucination, or what. Weird, unpleasant, and totally pointless. To begin with, there were no good scares at all. I think it was even wrong to put this in the horror category. Possibly, it could have some interest as a portrayal of life as a single mum to an only child with behavioral problems. I think that's exactly what it is. But anyway.
Yeah.
Many people today can relate to that part. But in that case, the supernatural element, or whatever it was, should not have been there at all. In my experience, it almost never works out well to try to combine something supernatural with something more actual, current, or serious, such as social realism. Wow. That, man. I don't get, like, it's metaphorical, right? I mean, I know I'm probably, like, you know, my opinion is not the only one that matters here, but Jesus Christ, like, anyone can see that this is supposed to be, I don't know. I give up too. Fuck this shit. I'm out.
I was actually just reading one where somebody was like, I love horror, especially the stuff after the mid 90s. It's like, you love late 90s to early 2000s horror?
you like fucking 13 Ghosts? You can eat a dick.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of good ones, but still, yeah. But yeah,
big proponent of the Final Destination sequels for that one.
Yeah, Resident Evil's the best movie ever. But no, yeah, we I think we ended up getting I think just one comment on there. Do you have it pulled up? Do you need me to pull it up?
I've got it. My entire internet seems to be suffering from a stroke, which I'm so thankful for. Now that we decided to call each other for this podcast because everything is kind of like gone into shutdown. So could you get it? Because I don't have it anymore.
I do not, but I will get it pulled up. I tell you what, hit us with plug our socials and stuff, and I'll pull up this.
Yeah, absolutely,
I'll pull up
guys.
This comment really quick.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode.
Actually, no, shut the fuck up. I already got it pulled up.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, this is coming from Scott Buchanan. The fear a mother has for her child. It's fantastic, and Miss Fisher is wonderful. Dislike this at your own peril, for you know what's coming. Sorry. Dislike this at your own peril. You know what's coming for you if you don't. God damn. I love how ominous that is, dude. That's great.
I also just want to shout out Scott for a happy birthday, dude. We're recording this on his birthday. So, fuck yeah.
Fucking happy birthday, Scott. But no, I'm sorry. You were in the middle of plugging socials. Don't let me cut you off.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. This is one of our feature presentations, obviously. We went through the movie. We gave our thoughts on it. And now, here we are, 3 hours fucking later. But no, guys, if you want to hear more about us, please follow us on our socials. So Facebook is, we have 2 pages, which is our main page. We have our main page, Midnight Double Feature, and then we have our group, which is called the After Party. We post teasers of what's to come here on Midnight Double Feature on the After Party. So if you do want to see what movie we're covering next, then feel free to give us, feel free to like or follow the After Party. Jesus Christ, what is wrong with me? This is I'm so fucking like out of it after this 3 hours, but yeah. And we'll probably be posting the teasers of the next couple of episodes soon because we kind of like have a schedule for once, which is kind of weird for us. So yeah, that's a thing. And we're also on Instagram, which is at Midnight Double Feature, and we're on Twitter, which is at MDF Pod. Please rate and review us on iTunes, and you can follow us, or you can listen to us rather anywhere. Basically, we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on fucking YouTube. And yeah, Colin, close this out. Give us your final thoughts. I'll give my final thoughts, and we'll head off.
short and sweet, I really dig this movie. I think that there should be more films like this. There should be more original work that doesn't get franchised out, that it's just one single solitary movie. The only thing I will say is it's 90 minutes long. There's a couple of parts where it feels like it lulls a little bit. This was actually based on a short film that she made, and I think it kind of like, you can tell that this sprung from like a short film idea. I think there's room for a little bit more meat on the bones in some areas. I think that building the relationship with that guy Robbie would have been something to add, just like a little bit. I don't need this movie to be 2.5 hours long, but I mean, even with credits, it's like 90 minutes. It's like right fucking barely hitting, what would be considered in the industry a full length film, 90 minutes, like right at it. But I think that this kind of movie is great, and I wish there were more of them. I wish that there was more of this kind of smart indie kind of horror, and I think that right now we're in the kind of golden age for that. I'm terrified to see what happens when we get out of this kind of golden age, if we ever do, which I mean, I'm sure we will at some point. What goes up must come down, but I hope that's not the case, because as a horror fan, I'm just loving it with these movies that have been coming out lately. There's room for everybody. There's room for fucking Happy Death Day, and then, at the same time, you can go see Midsummer or Babadook or whatever, but I would give this a straight, I'd probably say between an 8 and a 9 out of 10. I think it's really, really well done. And I'm glad we finally did it for the podcast. I'm glad I finally got you to watch it.
Well, hell yeah, dude. I mean, I pretty much, my thoughts echo yours as well, except I probably 100% think that this might be one of the best films I've seen in a very long time. It
Cool.
stuck with me. Yeah, it hit me. I was like intrigued by every scene. I don't really think there was a lull. I mean, I can't really, I don't know. There was like usually when there's a lull, I'm kind of like, I start to get disinterested, like I pick up my phone, or scroll through Facebook or some shit. But like, I didn't really do that with this. I was like 100% attentive, from start to finish, which is what you want in a movie, I guess. But yeah, I thought the creature design looked awesome. Like, I thought the tension was really well done. Both of the fucking leads are absolutely outstanding. And man, just like what they're playing with here in terms of like thematic elements, like it's just so, there is a lot of meat on the bone here. Like in terms of like what she's dealing with, in terms of like what she is trying to move away from and what she's trying to achieve. I absolutely think that, yeah, this is a fucking fantastic movie and really, really, really well put together. Although we just did for the last 3 hours talk about, some minor gripes and quibbles, I can't find a problem with this movie that makes it unwatchable to me or even like kind of like ruins it for me. Like, I absolutely think that this is what fucking films should be made out of. And I can't give it a score lower than 10. I'm sorry, I just can't. I think this is my masterpiece. I do. I love it.
Hell yeah, dude, that's fucking awesome. I'm really glad you enjoyed it, because I was wondering. I was like, man, I'm curious. I know it's something that I knew you weren't going to hate it. I'm glad that you enjoy it and you enjoyed as much as you do. I guess I wasn't expecting you to enjoy it that much. So
I was not expecting it to enjoy it that much either. And I'm kind of like kicking myself that I've put it off for so long, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't watch it in theaters when it came out. So.
Yeah, it's so funny. I pick a movie that you end up liking more than me. I'm like, all right, dude, calm down. It's okay. Fuck.
You finally got one.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm like a fucking bull rider who finally flips the bull over and like hog ties it and says, "Gotcha, bitch."
I know.
But guys, thanks so much for listening. Like I said, check us out on our socials. We've got some really exciting episodes upcoming soon. We're going to be doing pretty much all Halloween horror, I guess, films, shit coming up for October. We got some special things lined up in the pipe. So make sure.
Did we tease that next one?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Why don't you drop it? You were the one wanting to blow your load earlier. You go ahead.
Well, guys, so if you have stuck around for this long, right? Because usually people like switch off like when we start plugging socials at the end.
Right.
I'm sure. So if
you're listening to this, comment. I want to see a comment. I want somebody to be like, I listened all the way through.
You know what? Matt did that in one of our upcoming attractions episode, and Jose, the boy, our boy Jose, like commented.
Fucking Jose.
I know. A few days later, and I was like, wait, Jose, what? Like, it was just something random. And like, and then it caught me. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's right. Matt dropped that at the end of the episode for someone to comment on our Facebook page. And it was Jose. I love it. But no, the tease, okay, is our next feature presentation episode, which is going to drop 2 weeks from the day that this episode drops, will be a special one. We're going to be covering The Invitation. Okay, a horror movie / thriller movie. Pretty damn fucking good from what I remember. I've only seen it once, but I'm really keen to revisit it. And not only are we going to cover The Invitation, we're going to be having our main man, Matt Anderson from LSG Media, returning after 1 full year from his debut, right, when he came in and helped us out with Get Out. So, and I know he's been wanting to cover The Invitation for a very long time. I remember him talking about The Invitation on a bonus episode of LSJ Media's podcast. So yeah, absolutely. I cannot wait for that, dude.
Fuck yeah, same here, man. It's great. Not only having him on almost a year later to the date, but like again covering another horror movie and shit. It's always cool to be able to podcast with somebody from one of your favorite podcasts, and it's awesome. I always appreciate Matt coming on, and I hope he has as much fun as we do. But yeah, guys, stay tuned for that. Make sure, you check out all of our episodes. We've got some other stuff coming up, and we'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.